Shooter, big deer.
The fall is what drives whitetail hunters. It's year-round preparation for 15 seconds of chaos you just can't explain unless you've experienced it.
My heart is going a mile a minute right now.
The fall means something different to everyone, but for me it's leaves changing, cooler temps, the sound of a Coleman lantern, and those phone calls to friends and family after you release the perfect arrow.
Daddy just shot the big one.
The deer that you just said was a baby, Daddy just shot. It's a baby. I see baby. Look.
You see, the fall isn't about a big buck harvest or even where or how you shot it. It's the time of year and everything that comes with it.
Oh my God. This is unbelievable.
Welcome to the Fall Podcast, Season 9. All right, we are back for another episode of the Fall Podcast. We're back with something new, something that is really meaningful to me, something that I've been working on for over a year now, in the dark. I think I've I have mentioned it on past podcasts, thought it would be launched by now, but here we are, middle of April 14th to be exact, and we have a new series coming to you. First and foremost, I want to say go blue. Michigan won the Natty a week ago, just over a week ago, less than a week ago. 2 national championships for the University of Michigan, football in 23, now basketball in 25-26 season. What a ride. I absolutely love Michigan basketball. I only missed one game this year, and it's because I was at ATA, but unbelievable season, unbelievable team, and I've loved basketball ever since I was a little kid, and I just love watching Michigan basketball. So that was really cool to see the pinnacle. But back to this series. This series is based on, actually, I will say, like, this series was thought of back in 2017. So we're looking at, a long time ago, almost 10 years ago. And the reason being is because the Fall Podcast, the one that I've done I'm in season 9 now, that this podcast was supposed to be what this series is going to be. And the name of it, so like when I was concepting a podcast for the podcast that you guys know of me now, the Fall, I was heavy into my career at that time, filming hunts and producing and photography and everything, which I still do now, but I don't do it as much as I did. I still do it, but, just on a smaller scale. And I wanted to do a podcast talking to field producers and camera guys in the outdoor space. And basically it was going to be concepted behind getting producers that what I would call they have filmed quote unquote famous deer. There's a hunt with a deer called the Baby 8 that my buddy Nick Skinner, he produced a lot of the hunt, and then some other guys as well. But Whitetail Properties agent Gabe Adair shot back in 2013. Crazy deer, crazy hunt, crazy story, to be honest with you. But I wanted to tell stories like that from the field producer / camera guy's lens. And their perspective, not from the hunter's perspective, because, if you see YouTube hunting or podcasts and everything, you always hear from the hunter and from the person out there, trying to kill the animal. And my passion being, a field producer and a photographer, like, I wanted to hear more from the other guys. It's a very niche thing. There's not a ton of producers out there, and there's not really a ton of people that like even want to film their hunts. I think it's getting bigger now, I will say. I think it's pretty saturated now, but that's a good thing. Like I'm all on board for that. So that was going to be the initial concept of the Fall Podcast, and it was going to be called Over the Shoulder because of, the camera guy is over the shoulder of the hunter. So and basically it morphed into the Fall Podcast. And if you've listened to the Fall Podcast, I've kind of strategically not talked a lot about filming and photography for years. People just kind of know I do it for a job, but I've kind of like shelved it for some reason. And about a year and a half ago, I wanted to maybe come up with a new podcast or rebrand. No, I don't want to rebrand. I mean, I've done that. You guys have seen me change, the logo once. You've seen me change colors and fonts and stuff like that. And if you guys want to know why I do that, and that's just because I'm a creative person and things get old to me. They get old. I literally could not see myself having the same color scheme and everything for years. Things get old. They need to be refreshed. That's my opinion. And I have different creative eyes all the time. I'm like, okay, I really am kind of not liking that now. Let's go to this and let's try to like breathe light into it, or life. I should say, not light, life. And that's kind of why you see the rebranding from me, is because to me, it gets old, stale. And if I don't like it, that's what matters to me. Like, if I don't like it, I need to change it. And it's a big part of me in my career and who I am. So I want that to represent it the way I want it represented. So that's kind of part of the rebrand thing. But I got off on a tangent there. I guess I trying to figure out where I left off. But I'll just go back to a year and a half, 2 years ago, whatever it was. There's a repeated question I get asked on direct messages, and it kind of rivals all other questions on more of a scale of like how many times I get asked through a year. And it's filming, it's cameras, it is what camera should I buy, self-filming, like how to do this, editing, it's just around all of that stuff, all the producing stuff. So once I started getting it, and when I mean like DMs, like I'm weekly, almost daily, somebody will reach out to me and ask a camera question or a lens or something, or how do I do this? And I try like heck to respond the best I can. And there's always a subset of questions I ask. If somebody was to ask me, what camera should I get? Well, there's a lot of questions I ask, and I'm going to cover that in this series of, hey, if you want a camera, here's the questions I would ask myself, and this is what I would do. And I just thought to myself, let's get these guys on, some guys that I pick, and talk about hunts. Now, the first one you're going to hear today is with Cody Cooper, and I don't know if you guys know the name Cody Cooper. He's filmed for Seek One, films for Seek One, has filmed for Lee and Tiffany. I don't know if you've ever seen the YouTube series Seabucks. He produced, I think, the first season of that. And he's done a ton of other stuff. Cody Cooper is absolutely an amazing human. I've got to know Cody. He's really good behind the camera, really good at producing. Well, Cody, he is the one that filmed Lee Ellis shoot the Kansas buck on the ground in the rain. And that's why I wanted him on here too, is to talk about those quote unquote famous deer or famous hunts. Like a lot of people know that hunt. So today's podcast, there's going to be kind of a rhythm of like, we get into Cody and his kind of how he got to where he's at now. But then the latter part of it is going to be talking about that hunt from Cody's eyes. And that's what you're going to get from this series. You're going to get that, but also you're going to get, I did a podcast with Joe Davis, and that's going to be coming live soon. And he's a new producer, a new camera guy, and that's just jumping into it head first and learning the ropes. Like last year, he set down the bow and all the weapons to film. Like he was a hunter first, and he just said, I'm going to film for my buddies, and they do the Rome syndicate thing, and I want to produce the best thing I can. So I want to talk about his lumps and bumps and everything along the way of a season behind the lens. And so you're going to get that. You're going to get seasoned veterans. You're going to get deer stories, but also any questions. I'd like to do Q&As. Any questions you guys have for camera equipment, upgrades, pricing, what should I get? What lens is good? Should I use a DSLR? Should I use more of a camcorder situation? What tree arm? If you've seen my tree arm collection, it is ridiculous. I feel like I've tried every tree arm. So you're going to get a lot of that. And I have, so Cody and I recorded back in the fall, I think. So I've been sitting on this for a while. I have like 4 episodes done right now, and we're going to roll them out. I'm not going to say this series is going to be like a week-to-week series. It might be, but where I might just sprinkle them in every once in a while. But I wanted to get back to it because I am passionate about this stuff, and I do think there is a bigger audience for it now. I mean, you look at YouTube and there's so many people self-filming or even filming in general, or trying to do little series or little films, and I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm not the type of person that's going to sit there and tell you every little intricate part of a camera, the name of it, the codec, the frame rate, and everything. Like, I'm a person that needs to grab the camera, play with it. I'm not great with lingo with cameras. I've been doing this for 14 years, but I'm not the nerd behind it. I will say that. I know it works. I know it looks good. I know how I can be successful, and I'm going to tell you through my eyes. Other producers out there, there's way better producers than me. There's guys that are, don't take this the wrong way, this is a compliment, there's nerds of the game as well that are, that could literally tell you a crop sensor, a full frame sensor, or this, that, and explain to you from A to Z how that's done, or why it is and what it is. I literally cannot sit there and tell you that. I can't. I know what a full frame sensor is. I know what a crop sensor is. I know what this lens does. I know what f-stop is. I know all that stuff. I can explain that to you. But when it gets to the nitty-gritty details, there's just guys out there way better than me at it. And I'm going to tell you in my, what I would call ghetto way. That's what I have framed it forever, is I'm just kind of like the ghetto version, and it's not because I don't care about it. It's just because I just know what has worked for me over the years, and it's just kind of status quo. Something I'm really diving into right now is photography and flash photography, and that's something I do for Latitude. That's my job, is all product photography and photography in the field. So a lot of stuff that you see come out of Latitude stuff is all my photography work. And that's something I'm learning, like flash photography. I have not done hardly any of it in my career. And this last year, I've dove headfirst into it. And that's all I look at, flash photography. So I'm learning that and I feel pretty good at it. I look at my photos and I'm like, this looks amazing, and from what it come from when I started to now. So I know I'm talking in circles. I'm getting long. It's almost 14 minutes long here, but I just kind of wanted to get this out here, and the general idea of what this series is going to be. And I don't even know if I've told you the name. The name is not Over the Shoulder. It is called Film the Fall. So kind of going off play off words of the Fall podcast, but it is going to be called Film the Fall. And honestly, I have ideas of making this its own podcast probably. We'll see how the numbers do and how the response is, and if there is a bigger want and need for it. And let me know if you guys are into this and you feel like it could be its own podcast. And I want to let you guys know there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot that goes into a podcast. It is a second job. There's so much going into it. I'm willing to put the time and effort into it if you guys want that. So let me know. You can go to Spotify. You can comment on this episode and just kind of leave me a comment. I don't care what it is. I recommend doing this, and as a podcaster. Maybe I'll just keep it as a series right now, but there's just so many avenues and so many ways that I can get information out here from not only me, but from other people in the industry. Great producers way better than me. And we are going to do the stories like Cody's today. I have a laundry list. I think I have 20 some people right now that I'm trying to get a hold of to get on here. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Whitetail Adrenaline, like Jared Scheffler. I got him on the hook. I want him to come on. I would love to get Chancey Walters on, because Chancey, filmed Jared's big deer. If you ever seen that film, his absolute giant deer from Kansas that year. That's what excites me, is like Chancey isn't like a producer, first and foremost. He's kind of a camera guy that like kind of got, plunged into that position because they needed that. And then he just lays down some of the most epic footage for this damn near 200-inch deer with a longbow with Jared. And the story behind it was just crazy. So like that kind of stuff, that's what excites me and is really cool to me. So this series is here to say, like I said, it could be its own podcast. Film the Fall. That's what it is. I think I covered it all. We're long in the tooth today. But Cody Cooper, if you guys don't know him, I suggest you get to know him. He's a really good dude. Go on Instagram, look him up, Facebook, all that. He does amazing work. He's one of those guys that you should follow if you're inspiring to be a producer, camera guy, photographer, everything. Look him up. And that's the other thing. I want to highlight these guys too that are coming on, because they're good. They're good at what they do. So that's what I'm going to leave it at. So today, episode 1 of Film the Fall with Cody Cooper. Let's run it. I'm here to tell you Jay Sporting Goods is the ultimate one-stop shop for everything outdoors. I mean, from hunting essentials and fishing gear to small camp comforts that honestly can just make your life easier in the woods and your experience even better. Whether you're gearing up for deer season or heading out into the water to chase fish, now that could be in a boat, on a dock, or it could be hard water like in the winter. Stop by Jay Sporting Goods in Clare or Gaylord. You'll find everything you need for a successful season, and probably a few extras you didn't know you needed to make camp life a little easier. Jay Sporting Goods, trust the tradition. Not only does this keep you in the woods longer, which usually yields more success, but the company and the owners and everybody behind it are top-notch individuals. Osteo Gear was created to maximize a bow hunter's efficiency and effectiveness while hunting from a tree. The Osteo Raptor pattern is inspired by one of nature's top tree predators and master of camouflage, the owl. But concealment is just the beginning. Osteo Gear allows you to stay in the stand or saddle longer thanks to exclusive fabrics and highly functional features built for real-world conditions. From bitter cold and high winds to rain, heat, and sun, Osteo Gear keeps you comfortable in any situation. And the best part about it, Osteo Gear has you backed by a lifetime guarantee, no questions asked. So if you rip a pant or a zipper breaks, just call them up and they got you covered. Also look into their new Rapax camo, which just came out last year. Learn more at OsteoGear.com, and right now for the Fall Podcast listeners, use the code FALL20 to save some money on your next purchase. With 2026 here, now it's time to look back at last season and ask yourself one question: how can I make my setup even better? Latitude builds meticulous design mobile hunting gear for both private and public land hunters. Their system is truly turnkey, built to move efficiently, adapt quickly, and meet the demands of hunters chasing every opportunity, whether that's public ground, private land, or anywhere in between. Based right here in Michigan, Latitude holds themselves to a higher standard, not just in the gear they design and build, but in the experience they want every hunter to have in the field. If you're serious about mobile hunting in 2026, visit latitudeoutdoors.com to learn more. And right now for Fall Podcast listeners, you can save 15% by using the code THEFALL at checkout. All right, everybody, we're back. And today I've got Mr. Cody Cooper on today. Cody, thanks for coming on, man, and doing this. I know it's, you and I've been talking for, it seems like a couple months, but now we're able to get this done, man. So I appreciate you doing it.
100%, man. It's been a crazy fall, just running around on the road and trying to catch each other in between trips. It's been kind of hard to do, but glad we got this nailed down. And I've seen you've had a pretty successful fall so far.
I have, man, and it didn't come easy at all. Like I will say the Iowa hunt, it was. I think I had 3 trips in there. I didn't not expect to do 3 trips. And when you're non-resident from Iowa or not, it's 6-year tag, so it's like you're gonna try to do whatever you can.
Yep.
Dude, I took it to the last little bit. I'm so ran out of gas right now. Like I'm just like running on fumes. Like I've got like does that I want to shoot around here at home, and I'm like, honestly, it's hard for me to get out in the cold now.
Sure, 100%. I actually just shot a doe 2 days ago, and I just told my wife, I was like, I think this is the last one that I'm gonna shoot here in Missouri, because like between that, I mean, whenever I'm on the road, and if I come home, then I'm going hunting, and then it's nonstop for however many months, and you do kind of hit a wall. I mean, there is a point in time you're just like, all right, you at least need like a week to reset, right, or something, just to kind of like slow down a little bit, get back to reality, and
I like it.
I hate when it's over too. It's kind of terrible.
And it does kind of suck when it's over, because it's like you got to wait so long for it to happen again. But I almost feel like if I could hunt 365 days a year, I don't know if I'd like it as much. Like for me, coming from Michigan, it's like Casey's General Store pizza. It's like I love it when I get there, but like I eat a lot of it and I'm like, okay, I'm done with it. Like it's because I don't get it every day. We don't have Casey's here in Michigan, so it's like it's kind of a treat when I go out there. So
Yep. I totally understand that. That's why I love deer hunting, but then I also love turkey hunting. As you can see, there's some turkey fans back there. But I mean, those are my 2 things. But I always say I'm super happy that turkey season is usually so short in a grand scheme of things, because I mean, it's not like deer hunting. You can go kill a turkey almost on every single day, right? You just got to find one that's going to work. And it just makes you go every day. Well, if you can, right? It'll make you go every day. And gosh, I could burn myself out doing stuff like that quick. But
in turkey hunting, you got to get up so early. Like it's the
so
earliest
early.
of all early. And it's like, geez, what? In 3 days of turkey hunting, and Missouri, you can't hunt past noon, right?
Well, they changed it.
They did.
Private property, you can. So and I hated it, because now it's like, well, I could go hunting, but now I've kept myself at that 1 o'clock cutoff. I'm like, all right, I'm not hunting past 1 o'clock. Just not doing it, because I'll go burn myself out. I go to other states too, and then before you start knowing, you've hunted 12, 13 days, 14 days on end. You're just like, okay, I need to sleep somewhere.
Well, not going to talk about turkey hunting, but I will say this. I did hunt. The only out-of-state bird I've ever killed was in Missouri, and my buddy Lee and I took it right to the wire. It was like the cutoff's was 1 o'clock, right? So this bird is just hammering, and it's like 12:30, and I'm like, Lee, we're looking at our watches, like, and the bird's and he's like held up, and we're like, literally, I took it down to like 5 minutes, and all of a sudden he gets to the point, and I'm like, here we go, boom, and we killed him. Like, oh my gosh. And come from Michigan, we can hunt all day, so
sure,
but we only can kill one bird, which it is what it is. But like you said, I love in Michigan here, going up to my family farm, I love 11 o'clock, go up there like later in season when the birds are really kind of like long lining
100%.
And looking for hens, dude. Walking up there doing a midday hunt, I've killed some awesome birds midday.
Oh, I'm sure.
And there's no turkey sleeps.
That 1 o'clock turn off or shut off. I used to say more birds than anything, because it never failed that they would fire up at that time. And then like I know that first year there was a lot of people that didn't. When they changed that 1 o'clock rule, a lot of people just think, like I said, didn't go out in the morning. They're like, oh, why do we gotta go out in the morning? We go out in the afternoon. And kind of changed the game a little bit, but it is what it is.
You kind of got me fired up for turkeys now. Like we're in December.
I'm telling you, I'm kind of like getting to that point where, all right, I got at least another year or another month, one more month of deer for sure. Solid month of deer hunting, and then it'll be like I'm ready for turkey season. To be honest with you, ready for it to warm back up again, and
I love it. Well, let's get into this over the shoulder series we got here, and now. So Cody Cooper's with me today, and Cody, kind of tell everybody that might not know your background, how you got into the filming. This is all this series and this podcast is all about filming and filming. We're going to get into the meat and potatoes. Like, ultimately we're going to talk about, Lee Ellis's, like, as it is on YouTube, Lee's most insane hunt, and on the ground in the rain, unbelievable footage. Could be one of the best kill shots I've ever seen laid down. And we're going to talk about that through your lens, not through Lee's, through your lens eventually. But I want to get to that point. So tell me, Cody Cooper, who you are and kind of like how you got into the filming thing and where we're at today.
Yeah, first off, very much appreciate you having me. Very much appreciate the kind words. And yeah, that hunt was pretty wild, and we'll get to that for sure. But where it all started for me, I've been hunting since I was, knee high to my grandpa, and got pictures of me running around with coveralls that are 3 times too big because there was nothing else to wear. And that's where the hunting part all started. So I was definitely, fully immersed in hunting way before I even picked up a camera. But then my best friend today, we got together, started hunting together and everything. And, we started watching hunting shows whenever it started really becoming popular. And like Lee Tiffany and then the Harlan Bowhunter guys. And like, he had that stuff to be able to record at his house. So, Friday after school, go over to his house. I mean, we'd binge watch all that stuff. Then we had access to be able to go hunting that was real close to where he lived. And so that's where we started like, well, now we need a camera. And he happened to just have a grandma that had a camera. So we actually stole that camera from her. Not really meaning intentionally to steal it, but we took it from her and she never got it back because we just took it and started filming, right? And so that's where the whole filming thing started. And it really just kind of almost became an addiction at that point. We were like, as much as we can go film each other, that's what we were doing. We were filming everything. If there was a hunting season, we were going hunting in it and we were filming it, right? So it all started out as a hobby. I got to school. I actually went to school for wildlife ecology and conservation. And I found out real quick that I was not smart enough for that. Like that zoology and all that stuff was way above my head. So I was like, well, what else am I going to do? I love taking photos and I love doing video stuff. So I was like, well, let's do like media, right? Media was kind of really starting to pick up. And I was like, if I could do anything, I would love to film for a TV show, right? So that's where this road took me. And then right out of college, I went to school. I went and got a media degree and all that stuff, kind of just like you were talking about earlier before we started airing. And my first project out of school, I graduated, and it was like, I think 4 or 5 months later, going into next fall. I graduated in December, so I was going to that next fall. I got a call from a mutual friend. Actually, my best friend, he went and did stuff at Midwest Whitetail, did the internship, made some friends with guys. I also met those guys, made some friends, and got a phone call about a project that they wanted to do out like Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts, and it was called Sea Bucks. It was on Realtree 365. Yep.
I love that series, man.
Awesome. That's very cool, man. That's super cool. Yeah. So that was like my very first big thing that I kind of like stepped out away. I mean, I left home, left for 8 months and just took off and packed the truck and went filming, right? And that was a huge blessing. I mean, that was right there was a huge foot in the door that I didn't really know was like going to be as beneficial as it was, right? Because it was, getting out of school, we had 16 episodes, I believe is what it was. And I didn't produce all of it, but I produced a big, massive majority of it. I was traveling around all 3 states, filming all the different stuff. So I learned so much, and that was huge. That was huge. And it gave me such a big, resume in a sense, just coming right out of school of professional work that then was put on a big platform. So everybody was like, hey, have you done anything? I'm like, yeah, go check out Real 365. I did Sea-Bucks, right? And they're like, oh, you did this? And they're like, yeah, that's what I've done. And then, it started opening up the doors after that. And I don't know if you know who Caleb Copeland is.
I know of him. I've never met Caleb, but I know of him, yeah.
Sure. Super good dude. One day he made a Instagram post. So this is where, things just kind of start going, and doors start opening. I say doors start opening. There was doors there, and I more or less just kind of like pushed them open, was like, hey, what's beyond this door, right? And he made that post, and I reached out to him, and long story short, like 3 months later, he reached out, hey, can you do some work for me? I was like, yeah, where do I need to go? He's like, I got a job for you to do in Alaska. I was like, heck yeah, let's go to Alaska. That's going to be cool. That got canceled. Day before we were supposed to go, I was like, dang, man, that's a bummer. Weather, all that stuff, up in Alaska, it's day by day pretty much going up there. So I I called him up. I was like, hey man, last trip got canceled. He's like, oh, that's a bummer. He's like, I didn't even know that. They hadn't even told him yet. I was like one of the first people to know. So I told him. He's like, well, can you go to Iowa for me? And I said, sure. What am I doing? He's like, whitetail hunting. I said, cool. Sounds great. I was like, I just gotta, unpack for, Alaska, get ready to go deer hunting. Took off in the truck. He's like, I'll give you a call whenever give you a call whatever time. It got past that time. I was like, hey man, about an hour away. He's like, oh, I've got to call you. Gave me a call. He's like, all right, you're going to go film for Lee and Tiffany Lukoski. And I was like, wow, like that's kind of a big deal. So I had no idea. I was an hour away from it, or, hour, 30 minutes, something like that. That's what it was. Pretty much went in there, and I was replacing a camera guy that had been filming for like 25 days or something like that. And they'd been hunting this one deer, hadn't filmed him. Lee came in, I introduced myself, met him. I met Tiffany and the producer at that time, and, made a plan for the next morning. And this was in the middle of them like building their house and stuff. So all the camera guys weren't staying there. They were staying in town there. And so I go be with the other camera guy. He shows me where I'm staying. I probably met Lee for 15 minutes at that point in time. But I was going hunting with him next morning. So went back to the hotel, got all my stuff ready. Long story short, meet up in the morning, get up in the tree stand. And, it was like at that moment, yeah, I did the Seabucks thing. And that was super cool. I was like, man, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, I'm making money. I'm doing exactly what I thought I was going to be doing, right? Exactly what I wanted. But it was really like at that moment, we got up in the tree stand. It was still dark. So we got to set everything up, started to crack daylight. And all of a sudden, I look down, and Lee Lukoski stands up in a tree stand, turns around, looks at me, and says, hey, I'm going to do an interview, and we're going to rattle. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, like, this is, like, really happening, right?
A pinch me moment, right?
Yeah, it was so wild. Everybody has those type of moments, I think, and that was it. And like I said, he had been hunting that deer for 26 days. He said he's going to rattle because the wind was going to pick up or whatever. And he goes and knocks the antlers together. And when 30 seconds later, that deer comes walking up the ditch, walks straight to the base of the tree. And this was wild for me. He's coming up one side of the tree, right? You can imagine coming up. And I'm filming. I'm on a camera arm at this point in time. And all of a sudden I realize he's going to come to the base of the tree, but then he's going to come around the other side. And I'm going to have to spin all the way around with this deer at the base of the tree. Because I could see Lee in the corner of my eye drawing back, and he's going to shoot this deer whenever he gets a chance. And whenever I lose sight of him, I'm like, I spin as fast as I can around that tree, and he comes up right up underneath the stand. He shoots him at like 5 yards. The deer dies at 10 yards. And I'm just like, what in the world just happened, right? Like, this is how this all started, with Lee and Tiffany. And
what buck was that?
That was it was the big 10-pointer that it was just a big clean 10. I'm not really sure where he has them in his house. He's moved them around since I've been there. But then 2 days later, we killed the night stalker deer.
Oh, okay.
And it's like that big, I don't know, it's like a 7x7, had a bunch of inside points and stuff like that. So, yeah, man, it was a wild experience.
That's crazy, dude. And
yep.
Actually, this week I dropped a podcast with Lee and Tiffany when I was in Iowa. So my good friend Justin, he's one of their producers, and so I've been trying to get and do a podcast with them. So Justin kind of like helped spearhead that. So they invited me to their house, dude, and they're like the nicest people. Like
some of the greatest people on the planet, man.
I mean, I probably spent 3 hours, just over 3 hours with them, a couple hours, doing the podcast, but like walking around, the house and showing the bucks and everything. And then like I was kind of showing Lee, like asked some deer that I was like chasing. I was showing him, and he could care less that it was a 3-year-old from Michigan. He was like all in it. He's like, dude, what's the history with him? Like, how are you trying to kill him? Like all this. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like,
I'm telling you, I've only met 2 people in this world that I think are as obsessed with deer as he is. And I mean, he is. It's a whole nother world. And that is one thing about him that shows how like cool people they are. Like, I mean, he hunts, some of the best stuff that you can hunt, and he's passing. I've been in the blind with him when we passed a 190-inch deer, and I'm just like, right, mind blown. He asked me when that deer walked across the street, he's like, well, what do you think? I'm like, you probably shouldn't ask me because that's the biggest deer I've ever seen walk across the field, buddy. So we should
Yeah.
probably shoot him.
Yeah.
But you know, and then but then for somebody come, you know, to him with a story with a 130-inch deer and how, you know, obsessed he is with it still. You know, he just geeks out about it, no matter what, like where you're hunting, how you're hunting, the tactics. It is super cool just being around him all the time, for sure.
Yeah, something I picked up definitely was the process is his favorite. Like, he obviously loves to kill him, but the process and everything that goes into it, the meticulous, like, food plot, you know, architecture, the water holes, and how and it's like that when I look at that, I'm like, that is what this guy was put on earth to do. It wasn't to kill 200-inch deer.
No.
It was to, like, in a sense, like, grow them. Like
100%. I mean,
know?
we're sitting in the blind, and most times he's not, like you said, he's not having conversations about like, how am I going to kill this deer? Da, da, da. He's like, oh, you know, if we could do this, this, and this will make this better. So then, like, next time, if we got a buck here, it'll make it easier, you know, to kill him. And like, he's all thinking about the process all the time, you know. And then that's just why I think he's so in tune with the process. That's why he's able to almost call his shots in a way, in a lot of ways, and not even, you know, on his own farm. You know, I've seen him do it other places too, where we're there. You know, he's analyzing things, doing things. He's like, I think we'll kill him in the next day or two on this spot, doing this, da 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 da, for all these reasons, right? And this is just the way his brain works. Mm-hmm. Super cool, super cool. I was such a sponge when, you know, being around him, because he's just spouting out stuff all the time. You know, just all the time. You're just like, gosh, he's just walking deer encyclopedia, just saying stuff all the time, you know, and it's super cool.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. With all the times you've filmed them, what is one of the things you've learned on the filming side of them because of them?
I would say meticulously placing cameras in certain places. So like that, on like capturing certain angles and stuff. Like Lee has been super big on always, I mean, capturing the best footage you can capture of the deer from the point you see him, from the point you don't see him, right? Always on camera arm for the most part, always on tripods, different type of stuff like that. But really like the different angles and stuff, and like they use those type of little mini cameras or whatever. Mm-hmm. So you can be super creative on like different stuff like that. And I've always, I latched onto that because it saved me in other hunts now, you know, going down the road where you get in certain situations and like that second angle kill cam is so much better than what your actual footage is, right? You know, that's just the way it happened to work out. So I definitely, no matter what I do, I always have a second angle. I always make it happen.
Yeah,
you know, it's just,
for sure.
It's just one of those things that like, people are like, you know, what do you do during spot and stalk? Da, 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 da. I don't even care if it's just like a little Osmo camera, you know what I mean? And those things have gotten so good nowadays. Like they work in low light. They work, you know, the whole time that you're actually filming, they're still working, right? Mm-hmm. So, and they're little deals to carry around. So that's definitely a big thing that I caught on, was the second angles, like and all the different angles and how to set them up.
For sure. Now, when you're in a hunting situation like that, and let's say you killed the animal, but let's say you have 4 live angles rolling and you know you got it all. Are you still going back and it's like, hey, let's do some recreates, just because I want to make sure you can be a little more, you can control the environment. Are you still going back and doing that just about every time, just in case?
I'll tell you, that really depends on the client. For the YouTube stuff, or with like Drew and Lee and the Seek One guys, it's gotten to the point where I don't really have to go back and reshoot a lot of stuff, because you're filming so much stuff. This is where it's a lot different from whenever I started filming TV stuff to when I started filming YouTube stuff. TV stuff, you film in it, and you don't really overall have to have that crazy amount of footage. You know, you just have to have some of the best stuff to put into the episode, because there's commercials, there was all that other stuff that filled it out, right? You know, whereas if you're making a 30-minute YouTube video, there's 30 minutes of content there that's just going, right? So it's a lot more. The TV stuff was always a lot more, I'm going to say, you know, super clean, super cut, really produced in a way. Like you like you said, you go back and get those cutaways, like, you know, like you go back, get the finger pulling the trigger and stuff like that, or whatever you wanted to get, clicking the release, doing things, you know. But that stuff now with YouTube, and the second angles that I try to put out, I don't ever really go back and do recreates. Very, very little. My more recreates whenever I get down on the ground and like it's not even recreates, it's just like, you know, trophy shots and different stuff like that, or getting some of the product stuff, you know. And then I also make very big efforts to, while I'm in the tree, to get the product shots. You know, I go through a list in my head, be like, okay, these are their sponsors, boom, 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 boom. At least get one shot every sit of those, you know, different things, and let the action kind of show the rest of it, you know?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
The second angles are huge for me.
Definitely. And I would, you know, echo that. And it's like, I come from the TV world as well. So it's like my roots are in the TV world. So doing YouTube now, it's kind of, even editing, I do way more editing now than I do infield work. I still do some infield work, but it's definitely flipped. You know, I love my fire for the infield stuff still burns, but it's like very, you know, I got to travel the world filming hundreds of different things. New Zealand, Italy, you know, every province in Canada, basically. Like I've been, you know, Alaska, Northwest Territories, a lot of different areas. Now, like being like 14 years into this, I kind of like pick and choose. And, you know, I'm not a freelancer. I'm a full-time employee, and I've always have been. I've never really wanted to go down the freelance road. I just like knowing that I'm like, I've got the security check there every 2 weeks.
Sure.
So,
100%.
But I will say, like, coming from the TV mindset, like I still have, I have to climb out of that TV mindset because I edit everything for YouTube now, and it's a totally different beast. It is way different. It's
totally different.
In the moment that I know that I'm in the TV edit space is when it feels too right. And then I'm like, I'm in like a comfort slot, and I'm like, man, this is feeling good. And then I'm like, but it's not good enough for YouTube. Like YouTube's totally different. Like I know that it's going to hit when I'm like, man, I don't know if people are going to like that. I don't know if I like that. And then people love it. And I'm like, that's when I know I'm doing something good, if that makes sense.
Sure. Because like I'm the same way. I mean, I had to totally flip the way I filmed. I mean, I don't use a camera anymore. I rarely use a tripod for my main camera. You know, like I mean, my second angles are on clamps, you know, or whatever, little tripods if they can be. But I mean, and then editing it was a total. I mean, my first edit I ever did for Seek One, and there was 4 or 5 revisions, you know, and I was like, it went from a perfectly edited episode to a not perfectly edited episode, and that was a perfect episode. And like, I had to wrap my brain around that, because I just drilled that into my brain for so long going to school. And like, and when I was going to school, you know, it was like all production, high quality, you know, commercial, whatever, all that type of stuff. Right. So it was all super, super clean stuff. And that's totally not what I'm doing now. And I mean, I'm not gonna say stuff that I do now doesn't go on TV, but majority of it is social media and YouTube. I mean, that's where it all goes. You know what I mean? For the outdoor content. So that's just what it is nowadays.
Let me ask you this about school, because I've got my take on so you go through school for the production, and how much of that are you using now?
Well, let's just say very little, probably.
That's what I thought, because I don't use hard. I learned more in the field, in the industry I'm in now, than I did in school.
So this is where I was really fortunate in school. There was a job position that opened up with the media department at school. And like pretty much what they did is they ran themselves as like a little business, and everybody in the school was a client. So like the football team was a client, the baseball team was a client, and that's how they ran it, which was awesome for me, because knowing that I wanted to do the freelance. I did go down the freelance, you know, realm. I've been doing it for 7 years now, I think, which has been crazy wild. It's been rocking and rolling. It doesn't seem like 7 years. It seems like I did this, you know, started 2 years ago. You know, it's just been flying by. But going and starting that part of the schooling was amazing for me, because I learned so much more there. In the 2 semesters I did that, I learned so much more in the whole schooling process I ever did, right? You know, this is what really did for me. It really helped me organize and keep things like all together with working with different clients, and like footage and how to deliver things and different stuff like that. That's what I got out of schooling. But without that, if I just would have done all the normal stuff, I mean, I already knew how to use a camera. I already knew how to take photos. I already knew like all that stuff. That was all self-taught. did I now? Still to this day, I'm still not one of those guys that could tell you every single thing about the camera and all the buttons and all that stuff that it does.
Hand up, I can't either.
I have no idea but I know how to use it. I know what it need to do, and I'm very efficient with it, right? But if somebody asks me like, well, what does this do and this rec thing and this blah 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 blah, I'm like, I don't know, man. It just does this,
Yep.
and it looks cool,
Yep.
right? But that's kind of like where the schooling helped me, because other than that, no.
Yeah,
Not.
I will say, and I want to go back to what I said. I did learn a lot in school. I learned framing. I learned, basic controls of the cameras and how to use them. And editing, I learned a lot actually in school. But when I got like you said earlier, like it's where I went to school, it was like you're getting a lot of kids got placed at ESPN or news channels, and I'm like, that's not what I want to do. Like it was a lot of
100%.
live TV, and like I wasn't big on the live TV. Like I had one vision, and that was to film outdoor content. That's it.
Yep.
So when I got out, Jason Brown was my biggest mentor when I got hired with the Kiefers, and it was like he taught me so much and how to put a hunt together and how to film a hunt and how to frame things that way and different. And now, man, like, you know, when I get filmed by some younger producers now, I'm not technical. Like I couldn't be like, Cody, here's a camera, put your shutter on this, put it on, you know, I know what shutter is, I know what an f-stop is, I know what all that stuff does, but I couldn't be like, for the perfect photo for this, do this, this, and this. No, I'm going to give you the camera and I'll show you what the functions do, but you have to figure, like you just said, like I can pull the camera up and I can make it look great, take a picture, and it looks amazing. But you know,
can I explain to you really how I did that? No, I mean,
no.
Other than like I pressed this button, I clicked it over about 3 times so that number changed, right? And then the lighting looked pretty good. And to be honest with you, like I said, most of my stuff was everything that I did up until like some of the editing and organization and stuff, like that's what I really got out of the job at school. But I mean, in school, I was also able to, like you said, a lot of those people went to like the new stuff and all that stuff, right? And part of the stuff we had to do, we had to be part of a show, was like part of our media thing, or you can create a show. So I was like part of the sports show the first semester, and I was like, this is absolutely not what I want to do. We had writing stuff, doing journalist stuff. I was like, it's not me. I was like, so then I went to him. I was like, well, hunting is technically a sport. Can I do some type of like hunting show, right? That can be educational. And so that was my spin on it. So that's what I did. I took that to the dean, you know, the students and all that stuff, and the board, and convinced them to let me do a hunting show on campus. And so it came to be my last 2 semesters. And I figured out, this is kind of a theme in my life, actually. If I figured out ways to live life to make hunting revolved around it. Like, you know what I mean? And I did that at school. My last 2 semesters, I filmed my hunting, or I guess 3 semesters, I filmed the hunting show. The last semester, I pretty much turned it over to another guy, and all I did was go and hunt and gave him the content, and he edited it, right? And so that's where that was also a big thing that helped in a sense for schooling too, is being able to do that producer stuff and whatnot. But
yeah, I will say probably my biggest downfall is the technical side of things. Like if somebody was like, hey, what kind of lens, you know, it's a G series, I know it fits on this, and I know it's a 16 to 35, and I know what is it a crop lens? I don't know. I couldn't, you know, like
right.
I figure it out on the fly.
100%. Like all my stuff that I got now, I know it all works really well together because it's all the same series stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's what I try to do.
Yeah, I try to match everything up. Like, oh my god, this is all good. I know this is gonna work together. It has to work together because it's made for each other. If it doesn't work, then there's something wrong with it, right?
Yeah. Do you go back at the to the beginning of the podcast when you said you guys stole, quote unquote, this camera, your first camera? Do you remember what camera that was? Like what?
I do.
What was
I filmed on that same type of camera until the middle of college. It was a Canon Rebel T3i.
Okay.
Yep. It was a Canon Rebel T3i, and I had the kit lenses like the 18 to 200 or something crazy, something like that. And that's what I used. I literally filmed on stuff like that all the way up through college until I was actually filming a turkey hunt for my show that I was doing. And I had these birds coming in, and the camera, I was looking at it recording, it just shuts off.
Mm.
Weird. Batteries are full. Like, I hurry up, change out battery, try to turn it back on. It just decided to die that morning. That was it. So then that was the first camera though. We got that one, and then I think we had we had gotten like a little handy cam stuff that we had played with too, but that was really the majority of what we filmed on was the DSLR. That's where I started on.
Yeah.
And going back to there too, you know, putting things together and in the sense of like how to film a hunting show. Like I said before, we watched all the hunting shows that were out there, right? Me and my buddy Preston, we watched everything. He recorded it all. So, and I'm such a visual learner. Like I'm definitely a person that, like, if I sit there and watch something, I can go and do it, right? If you show me how to do it, I can go do it. But if you sit there and I close my eyes and you try to explain it to me how to do it, there's no way I'm going to be able to do it. There's no shot. So I think as crazy as it sounds, I was definitely a person that absorbed all that hunting content and how they was filming it, how the deer were walking through the frame. And I would just see that. And then whenever we go back out and start filming, I was just repeating that. Right.
Yeah.
And that was, I didn't know that at the time, but that's what I was doing. I was implanting all that stuff into my brain, and that all just kind of becomes second nature. But even by the time I got to school, you know, because we started filming when I was in seventh grade, I think is probably when we started filming. So it's been a long time.
I'm the same way. Somebody has to show me. You have to show me, and then I'll run it from there. Even when I'm teaching or trying to teach someone, or someone asks me some techniques or whatever, and I'm like, come and film me on a hunt, because we're going to be in so many different scenarios where I can explain it.
100%.
And that's how I teach the best.
Yeah. If I'm sitting here trying to explain something to somebody, it's really hard for me to teach them, in a sense. I can tell a story and stuff like that and whatnot, but if I'm trying to teach you how to do something, I just find myself like, I don't even know how to tell you to do it. Just let me show you how to do it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, a lot of creatives, in a way, I think are like that. You know, there are those guys that are super technical and stuff like that, and they create really cool stuff. But I've also met a lot of, you know, really talented guys that have no idea, like, what most of the buttons do on their camera, but they create some badass stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. I would not be good around Peter McKinnon, because he would just, like, those kind of guys are on a different level. Like,
Totally
I just like the slot that I live in, and I love having an SLR in my hand and just going and creating some different stuff. And, you know, and I'm pretty easy to amuse as well. Like, there's some, you know, like, doesn't have to be anything crazy. A good little edit on a picture and stuff like that, and, you know, some good framing. And I'm like, damn, that looks pretty good. Like, I like that.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm honestly one of those guys that looks, the more simple things are,
it's
better for me. You know, like I'm not real big in like super flashy transitions, and like my goal, if I'm making an edit or I'm filming something, is to make it look exactly like I'm looking at it. Yeah. That is my goal, and that has always been my goal. And that's kind of like, people are like, well, what's your style? I'm like, well, I try to make it exactly like what it looks like whenever you're there, you know? That's my style. If you want some crazy color grade or something like that, then we can send it to an editor and they can do that. But if you want it for me, it's going to look like I filmed it.
Yeah, and that's I'm the same way, dude. You're like speaking my language, because like and everybody knows, all the listeners I have, like, Heartland Bowhunter has been my A1 since day one. Like, everything that Michael and Sean and their producers have done is, like, when I'm out hunting in the fall, when I watch their stuff, that's what I see, and that's the flow that I see, you know. So, and even like Seek One, you know, like what you guys do on Seek One, like, still that's the flow that I see. Now, there's a lot of things out there, like, you know, for our grit series, and I produce a lot of the grit stuff with Derek, and, you know, that's totally out of my realm. Like, I've got to really, when I'm editing it, I really have to concentrate on, if it feels right, it's not right. Like, it has to be ADHD, like, or ADD. I mean, like, and I really like when
stuff happening like all the time.
It's like every 5 seconds there's a cut, there's a crazy transition, and when I sit back and I watch, I'm like, damn, that looks good. But then it's like, it's hard for my mind, because I don't see the fall that way, so it's hard for my mind to like edit it that way. So
you know, like, or when you're doing YouTube edits, you know, I remember over the first interview I cut through on a YouTube edit, I'm sitting there laying footage over the whole interview, cutting it apart. It's just beautiful, nice, flowing thing. And I'll never forget when Lee was like, hey, is there any way you can shorten that interview? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, but how? Like, what do you mean? He's like, also just like take away, you really don't need to show a bunch of footage. You can show some footage. You don't need to show a bunch of footage and just like show the cuts. He's like, just cut it up. And I'm like, really? Like, do you want me to like crop in or anything? Like, no. He's like, just, and then so the interview, you know, is like, when you're doing it, you're like, oh my gosh, this looks horrible. But then, like you said, you go back and you watch it, and it flows all the way through the interview. And before you know, you're like, wow, that actually works really well. You know, it's your brain is almost trained in a way that we've seen it so perfect for so long. But now you think about the consumer nowadays; they've seen it only this crazy, you know. In a way, I say TikTok brain because everything is just so fast. You know, boom, 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 boom. You know, and that's the way edits need to be. Because if they're not, you'll lose somebody in 5 seconds.
100%, yeah. I mean, I'm just telling you right now, face-off e-bikes change the way I hunt. Whether it's saving time, cutting scent, or turning long walks into quiet, efficient access, you know, it's just there. It just works. Whether you hunt the hills or flat ground, there are no limits. Check out faceoffebikes.com, and when you're ordering a hunter or switchback model, use code TFP to get a free front bow holder that's worth $100. When it comes to bowstrings, you want a custom set, and that's exactly what America's Best Bowstrings delivers. ABB offers a huge selection of colors, letting you build a string set that's customized exactly the way you want it. I'm a big fan of the Launch series, which is their top-of-the-line option for performance and durability. Visit the website and use ABB String Builder to design your setup and see it come to life in real time. America's Best Bowstrings offers strings for compound bows, recurves, and crossbows. All you got to do is use the code TFP at checkout to save on your next purchase. Guys, are you looking to get an edge this next season? I think one thing that could definitely give you a little added edge is the Moon Guide. The Moon Guide predicts when deer are most likely to move by factoring in lunar positioning, time of year, and historical movement data. The theory is simple. Whitetails tend to be most active when the moon is overhead or underfoot. Overhead is when the moon is directly above your location. Underfoot is when the moon is directly beneath you. These windows create the strongest gravitational pull, which is believed to help get deer up and moving. But the Moon Guide is more than just movement predictions. It's the #1 hunt planning app, giving you wind mapping, red moon predictions, stand-specific intel, a weather channel tab with moving wind currents, a built-in journal, and more, all in your pocket. Check it out on the App Store or head to www.moonguide.com for more info. All right, I got a question for all of you guys. All you guys that hunt private, whether it's permission piece, whether it's a lease, or you own it, are you looking to gain an edge? That's my question to you. If you are, Everland Outdoors is the answer. Everland creates custom maps of your property using high-tech drones that capture a series of images stitched together to produce the highest quality map of your farm. Everland has drone pilots in all major whitetail states, so no matter where you hunt, they can help you map your property. I personally really like the feature where I want to see the map on the wall, and I can actually put my hand up with where, you know, the weather channel tells me the wind's coming from, and I like to see where the wind is going to go through the farm. Now, it's just a good starting point, but it's really cool, and I really like to see a visual aspect of that. So learn more at everlandoutdoors.com and take your hunting strategy to the next level. What is like Lee and Drew's style? Like when you're putting an edit or even filming for them, are they giving you something like, hey, we kind of want to look this way, or like how does that all hash out?
There is a little bit of structure. So the past like few years there's been more structure in like, as in like, hey, it's got a shot list and different stuff like that. But I'll be really honest with you, going with Lee, there isn't really much planning other than, you know, you're going to be with him, and where we're going is just, he flies by the seat of his pants, man. He could be, I mean, we've done it multiple times where you're in one state, you'll get a trail camera picture. He's like, that deer's going to be there. He's going to be there next 3 days. We got to go. And you'll drive 9 hours to go to another state overnight where you were planning on hunting the same stand you were just in 5 minutes ago. Right. So with, there is kind of see with TV there was way more structure, but with YouTube it's just kind of happening, and that's why I guess you film so much stuff because it just keeps unfolding. You never know what's going to happen. There's so much drama that happens also with like the Seek One guys because of where they hunt. You know, you got to deal with so many different people, and you meet so many different people. You know, getting permission or getting access or getting recovery permission, and things could take a total right turn real quick. You know what I mean? You know, so yes, there's some planning in the sense of like, hey, we need to capture this stuff maybe for sponsorships and different stuff like that, right? And that's becoming more and more involved as they become more involved. When I would say probably 4 years ago when I filmed my first thing with them, when I first started doing stuff with them, it was really just, there was no plan. Hey, we're going here. Let's just film it. You know, whatever happens, happens. And that was before they had like a bunch of sponsors. And now like the past, 3 years, they've obviously, been going to the moon, and people are jumping on board, but that all on my end creates more of a demand for me. Cause all of a sudden now I got a list of, 10 things of like, hey, well, you actually have to for sure capture this, and you got to fit it in the time that you've been doing all this other stuff now too. So,
yeah.
YouTube, I will say, and social media has made a producer's job harder.
I'd agree.
TV was, I didn't realize how easy TV was until you don't do TV anymore. Let's just put it that way.
I really like that take because I agree with you. I think, like you said, there was a lot of structure in TV. You could control just about every element but the deer.
Yes,
and
100%.
with YouTube and social or whatever you want to call it, it's so fly off the seat of your pants. Like, in filming, I don't know if I want to go on record saying this yet, but I will just because it might throw some controversy in there. But I would like to see a public land series that is put together like Heartland Bowhunter. I don't know if it could be possible, and the reason it's possible for sure, but
Sure.
The hunter and the producer have to have one goal in mind, and that is the footage. It's not the deer, if that makes sense, in my opinion, because with HB, like they're taking steps to be like, we got to get this shot. We got to get this shot. We got to when you're hunting public land, it is, if you didn't see anything that morning, you got to keep scouting. And usually your hunter's just like, he has one goal and it's to kill a deer, which, but he or she has to be like, the goal is the footage if you want it to look like HB. That's why you don't see a public land series on YouTube that looks like HB, in my opinion.
Yeah. The story, to put a story together on public land is very, very difficult in a sense of, other than you're just hunting deer. Cause, and even when we, if we ever go out with the Seek One guys, when you're going to public land, we're never going after one deer. We're going after, hey, we've had history, we've killed a deer here before, or we've seen a deer here before. We may never see that deer again, but we're going in there because we know there's deer there or whatever, right? And just whatever you happen to stumble upon, that becomes the story. And I think, like you said, it's so unstructured because, like I said, you could put so much time and effort into filming about this one spot or this one deal that you're going to do, and it's a flop, and nothing ever comes out of it, right? And what I see happening is you'll put a bunch of effort into it, because I've done it before. You'll put a bunch of effort into that scenario, but then all of a sudden the rest of it just becomes like, oh, I'm just capturing what I have to capture to get through this, right? Type of thing, because there is no real end goal in mind other than killing a deer, and you have no idea when that's going to happen.
100%. Yeah, and it's like TV, you leave a lot on the cutting room floor. YouTube, you try to use it all because you have the time. There's no restraints. TV, last time, it's been years since I've done, produced TV, but I think it was 22:30 or something like that was the final runtime.
Yeah.
And I look back and I'm like, man, if I had to go edit a TV show, that'd be easy. Like, it'd be so easy to do that. It's
a cakewalk.
Yeah. The kill always comes in segment 3. There's 4 segments of the show. The kill's always in segment 3 usually. And then it's just building the story around that. It'd be easy.
100%. And then you had shows, like a lot of shows, you had them do interviews. So you'd sit down and do an interview, and then you cut that up, and that's, 5 minutes or more of the show that goes into the segments. And like, okay, you're like, great. Just got an edited interview. Now I got to find 7 or 8 really, really good video shots. All right, now we move to commercial. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just like, wow, this was simple. Like you said, now, I mean, there are terabytes of YouTube content that I have filmed. It's wild to look at the hard drives from the Lee and Tiff stuff, and then look at the hard drives from the Seek One stuff, and all the different stuff that I've done. It's kind of dumbfounding at this point in time, right? There's actually gotten to a point where I used to save, you know, Ellie and Tiff, you're filming so much cool stuff, and I would, you know, I don't know what in the world it's ever going to do, but it's on hard drives, right? And now I've gotten to the point where there's some YouTube stuff, as long as I know it's gotten to the editor and they got it copied onto another deal, I don't even save it anymore. Like, I'm just like, I've filmed so much stuff, unless it's something like super cool, like the Lee, like the, you know, that deer on public land or something. I've gotten to the point where like I don't save it anymore because I don't want to have to store the hard drives. I'm gonna have to get a storage unit here pretty soon.
It's crazy. I bought a new 5 terabyte hard drive for just my Iowa stuff this year, and well, my whole season, just my season. And I do a lot of self filming when I'm here in Michigan. Like, it's just me, so there's not a ton of footage. But so I go to Iowa and I'm like, 5 terabytes will be enough. Dude, I came and I'm like, I got to get another hard drive. Like, this is ridiculous. Now I am shooting, you know, everything 10-bit, 4K or, you know, or whatever, 10-bit. So it is, and I did, you know, add a 360 camera in this year, which file sizes are ridiculous. So there's a lot of that, but it's like, damn, like usually, you know, a season of Rival Wild would fit on like a TV season would fit on 5 to 8 terabytes. Like one trip didn't even fit on it. So.
Well, and also, like, you know, I do know that the file sizes on these cameras, this is one thing I do technically know, is the file sizes are getting so much bigger. You know, like every time I updated to, I shoot on the the Canon R5s, and I shot on a 1DX before that, and just the file sizes just from doing that were just huge. So it was a rude awakening when I went and shot my first trip on the R5s, and I took hard drives, and I did the same thing. I was scrambling to get hard drives delivered to me because I was like, I'm going to be out of space in like a day. This is insane. Like, what am I doing here? Right. But
I think that's a good point though, too, to like everybody listening. If you're wanting to get into this filming thing, you have to think about your storage. Like, I look over here, Cody, and I've got 4 Lacey's that I can see right now that are 5 terabytes each. They're all jacked full. And like, so think about storage, everybody, that you want to get into filming. I don't care if you're out there just filming for yourself or for YouTube stuff. Like, you know, think about storage, because that's something that people don't think about.
This is also something with storage that, you know, I get asked this question a lot. That like, how do you store your footage, or what do you do when you're on trips and all that stuff? And I'm sure you've heard the nightmares of like people losing footage or footage disappearing or something like that. And I cannot stress it enough. I'm glad I learned this very, very early in my life, and it wasn't like crazy important. At that point in time, I thought my world was ending because I lost all my stuff, right? And I was in school, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm going to fail. They're never going to let me out of here. That was my thought. But no matter where I go, what I do, I always have 2 drives. And I'm always putting stuff on 2 drives. So I got one drive that, you know, I back all the footage up on, and then if I'm going to bed or whatever, I back it up onto another drive, and I do all that stuff before I even format any of my cards. So the night before I go, so that next morning, there should be 3 copies of it, right? There should be a copy on the card, and there should be 2 copies on hard drives. And so at that point in time, I know that I can format my cards knowing that there are at least 2 hard drives with that stuff on there. Because I've had, I mean, you know, I got multiple of these little SanDisk drives and multiple SSD drives and stuff like that, and I've had them fail. I mean, they're great drives. So, you know, I've used a bunch of them for years, but every once in a while, you just get one that just loses its mind and it'll fail, right? Or you'll send it off to somebody, and you know, I package my drives as, you know, wrap them, bubble wrap and everything. I don't ever give them back that way, but whenever I'm sending them, I send them packed like they're as fragile as glass, you know, and so when they get there to the, because you never know what's going to happen to them when they go into the mail system, right? They get crushed, whatever. And having that backup has saved so many projects where I've been a part of projects, and maybe another shooter didn't back up their stuff, and now all of a sudden we got a big missing chunk, and it's just like, well, I'm really at least happy that we have all of my stuff, that we can at least make something out of it, right? And like that's just a horrible feeling. I couldn't imagine losing like a whole hunt worth of stuff or something because you only backed up one drive in the drive field, right? I couldn't imagine it anymore.
Yeah, it's
I'd probably just disappear.
it happened to me once, and it was on a big one. I don't even know if I've said this on a podcast, but we're in the Northwest Territories. This would have been 2014, I think.
Yep.
We were on a sheep hunt. The guy that I was filming was going for his Grand Slam for his sheep. And it was a helicopter flying hunt. You know, we were going to be there for 2 weeks. Yada, yada. We ended up killing this ram. Great ram. Broomed ram. He was like they called a fannin. It was a doll in a, actually now I can't even remember, but it was a fannin breed of it, I guess you could say. Do all the filming, walk up, do everything. We get socked in. Okay, it starts raining. We can't get back to camp. We do all that thing. Finally get back to like our main camp. So we get flown out. We're done. Okay.
Yep.
Everybody at camp wants to watch the footage. So we dial it in. I know. We dial it in, look at it and everything. Get done. I go back and I dump all the footage. Okay. Yep. And I didn't have a backup. This was early on in my career. Didn't have a backup.
Does it.
I was like, when I get back to the studio, I'm going to back up, do everything there. Yep. Get back. I have everything but the kill shot. I have the stalking. I have the grip and grins, the slow-mo, everything, all the artsy, beautiful, creative stuff, everything. I left work that day. I honestly cried because I did not want to tell the guy that I don't have the kill shot. I sent out the cards to try to get them, try to get something back. Could not, dude. Felt lower than a snake's belly. It was unreal. That guy, he wanted everything, his whole slam on camera. And I think he ended up going back and killing another ram to get it on camera. I think he was a big money guy. Sure. But still, that's $25,000 hunt.
Yeah, you gotta tell them that. I mean, I was so fortunate that my stuff happened when I was in school, and like it was the only person it really was affecting was me. But I was just like, that right there was a prime moment where I was like, there's no way I'm never not doing this. Actually, there's when I was doing that Seabucks thing, we were spending 2 weeks out on these islands, right? And talk about kind of pretty off grid. This was pretty cool. We were on the islands, staying there, all that stuff, and charging batteries off the boat battery. So we had two boat batteries. Okay, so we'd go out there, we'd have one boat battery that would charge everything that I had. It would charge my laptop, my batteries for 3 days, and then it would still have enough juice to be able to take it down to the boat, crank the boat back over, let the boat charge the battery back up, and then you take the other one, and it would run. That's how we charged everything. But on that trip, this is, I was dumping things on double drives. One of them failed on that trip. Middle of the trip, failed. Made a special trip off the island. I was like, guys, I'm not doing anything else until we have another drive. Like we just can't do this. We're literally on an island, and that I just can't let this happen. That was one of those instances. You're in the middle of nowhere. You said you're socked in, and I was just like thinking everything that I still had one drive, right? Also, one other thing that I just do as a person, as a producer, you were talking about everybody wants to watch the footage. That is a big thing. Everybody wants to watch the footage, which is great. I have made a rule whenever I film something, and I will tell somebody, and I don't care who you are or what we filmed. I'm going to go dump this footage and get it all on hard drive, and then we can watch it. Because I've also seen it. It has not happened to me, but I've seen it. Somebody you plug your camera into the deal, plug it into the TV, and somehow, some way, whenever they were playing it on the deal, it like got corrupt in the process of doing that, right? And it showed it up on the screen and said, can't play back image, da da da. And they're like, well, that's weird, and then they go and put it in the deal, and it's all messed up on the cart. And I'm just like, well, note to self, don't ever do that, So that's another big thing that like people are always going to ask for footage. They want to see it. I'm like, okay, just give me. It doesn't take 20 minutes to dump on these SSD drives anymore. You know what I mean? Especially if whatever. Just give me 20 minutes and we can watch it all you want.
Yeah, dude, that sucks. Gosh.
Yeah.
That's a good rule though. Good rule to have. I just made a note of that too because I'm like
100%.
Definitely do that. So, okay. I had a ton of questions here, Cody, but I want to get into this hunt. We're an hour into this podcast, but I want to get into the nitty
because it doesn't
gritty.
feel like an hour.
It doesn't, and that's the thing, man. Like I've not to go back on this, but I've been doing a hunting podcast for 8 years, and now like that's why I wanted to do this podcast is because it's like I'm like back into it. It's kind of like rekindled the fire a little bit. So it's just it's not enough of like tactics on whitetails. Let's talk filming. So
yeah, sure, 100%.
I get you. You mentioned you're running Canon cameras, which they're my favorite. I love Canon color. I love the Canon SLRs. Everything. You're running the R5s right now.
Yep.
How do you like the R5s? Because I talked to Mike Hunsucker on a podcast about it. They're running a lot of R5s. How do you like that?
I love the camera. The only downfall I could say of it is there is when you're shooting 120, 4K 120. If you're continuously shooting, it's hot out. Your camera's going to overheat. I mean, it's going to overheat. There's nothing you can do about it. And I have found out it's actually not the camera overheating. It's the card inside the camera gets so hot and it heats up the internal part of the camera, which then does overheat the camera. But in technical terms, the camera's not overheating. The card is just getting so hot inside there when you're filming on that deal. I've even tried buying like the super expensive CF Express cards, like the fastest one you could do. It still overheats. It's going to do it.
I gotcha.
But other than that, for what I do and because I'm always taking photos and I'm always doing video, to be able to click of a button, 2 clicks of a button, run a DSLR, hybrid thing like that is the way to go for me, for sure. I mean, I've looked into getting a cinema camera a couple times and I just can't seem to get myself away from the DSLR for sure.
Yeah. I got rid of all my camera gear not too long ago, a couple years ago, and then I'm like, I wanted another Canon SLR, so I bought the R6 Mark II, and super happy with that. Just for what I'm doing, like I'm not going out making money with mine. Mine is like personal use, and I got 2 lenses. I want to get the new 70-200. It looks killer.
It's pretty sweet.
But the price of it, that it will not make me any money, that's hard for me to swallow. So
I just jumped off the ledge this year and updated all my glass. And I will say the new 70-200 is, I mean, the old 70-200 I literally have it. So I'm looking at it on the shelf. It's filmed so much stuff. I still film stuff with it. I mean, I won't get rid of it. That's the only EF lens I still have that I'm not gonna get rid of it. There's no point in it, right? But I have that new 70-200 and it is amazing. And then I will also tell you the 24-105. I use that lens 90% of the time.
I'm glad you brought it up. That might be the most versatile lens when you're just kind of going and doing something. Like it's 100%. Such a nice lens.
YouTube stuff. I mean, even out west, like, you know, when we're doing stuff out west, I mean, this is a perfect going into like, you know, what we were filming, even with Lee stuff. A lot of times I'm running around with a 24-105 and we're capturing long stuff on a spotting scope through like on a mag view, you know, with a cell phone, because it looks so good. And it also saves me from carrying around a giant long lens, you know, it's huge. Right. And then another lens, I'll be honest with you, that I use for filming. I don't use it for taking photos very much, but is the RF 24-240. It's got a variable.
I have
variable
one.
f-stop.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. I love that lens for filming. I mean, it does suffer a little bit in low light and whatnot, but for all around filming, I mean, it's almost super hard to beat.
Is it an F4? Like, yours an F4?
Hold on. I think it's an F4.
I think I have the same lens. If it's my entry lens when I'm self-filming and everything.
Yeah, it's the 24-240. It's an F4. Yeah, it starts in F4 and then it goes to like, you know, 9.0 or whatever.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a great lens. Like it does suffer a little bit in low light, but I do all my self-filming and everything on it, and you know, with that mirrorless, you do get a couple more stops of
100%.
Of light. And I run everything in C-Log, so it's like it looks really good. Like as good as I need it to look.
Darn good. I mean, I'll be honest with you, most of the elk hunt I filmed this year with Lee out in New Mexico, that was on this lens, the majority of it. If I know that we're gonna get stuck in situations where we're probably going on a stalk, and I want to be able to get footage of animals that are still far away, but but then still have the capability, you know, coming in, and most of your stalks are happening middle of the day when the light is perfectly fine anyways, or it's harsh or whatever. This lens has performed just as good as like if I was running around the 24 to 105. You know what I mean? Like I said, the only time that I ever see that I'm like, I'm going to change the lens will be whenever I know that it's starting to get down to that low light stuff, right?
Okay.
And if I'm in a tree stand, I don't really use it. It's more for definitely when I'm running around, spot and stalk, that type of stuff.
I was
filming that lens. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. I was just going to say, I filmed a whole sheep hunt on a 24 to 105 one time.
Yep.
Except, I will say, not the whole sheep hunt. We were in New Mexico. It was the highest peak in New Mexico, and we were doing the sheep hunt. And, you know, I'm like, I know this is going to be a ball buster. So we're climbing all through these mountains and everything. And I'm using the 24 to 105. It was great. Like walking, you're out of breath, and you're like, man, I need to get a shot here. And you're kind of like doing the best you can. And like, it was awesome. Then when we finally got to the ram and found the ram, I had enough time to flip on the long lens, and then dude, the 24 to 105, it was light. It was great, and it was just a really good versatile lens.
Yep, I would suggest that to anybody that's like getting started. If they want to get a good lens that's better than just a starter kit lens, the 24 to 105 is the lens to get for sure. If you're shooting Canon, at least you know that realm. Sure.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. That's some good points there. Okay, I could be here for 4 hours talking to you about this, but I know people are wanting to hear your side of this story here. So let's go to this hunt now. It's got 1.2 million views on YouTube right now. It's unreal.
Wild.
It's got to be one of the top 3 videos on Seek Ones. I would think it is.
I very much appreciate that.
Yeah. So I guess from ground zero, you've been working with Lee and Drew for a couple years at this point. So you're in the nucleus, right? You're like, hey, are they just trying to find a camera guy to go with them, or is Lee like, hey, Cody, I want you to go on this because you've had experience with it?
It's kind of just started out as this is kind of weird. I have a reputation, and I don't know why it is what it is, but kind of like when it all started back when I went and hunted with Lee Lakosky up in Iowa, and we killed that deer, you know, right away. And then it was 2 days later, we killed another deer. Anytime Lee, Ellis, and I get together, wild things happen. And so there's kind of a thing that goes around, be like, well, if Cody and Lee go together, then something's gonna go die. Da, 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 da. You know, it's just kind of a theme that's happening now. So they've gotten to the point where they've got a pretty good core set of camera guys, but I will say that I'm probably the one that gets stuck with Lee if they have a choice. Yeah. I
got you. So when this hunt come about, did Lee call you specifically and was like, Cody, we're going to do this?
Yeah. And so like when we went out, you know, starting that hunt, it was already on the books. Like we had planned to go there. And it was he planned to go there because he had some buddies that had gone out there with family members and friends, and they've been going hunting public land. They had a lease out there, but they were like, honestly, we hunt more of the public than we do our lease. And he was like, you're more and more come stay where we stay and whatever. So that was the invitation that was. Lee's never been there and wanted to go to that, you know, part of the country. And he was like, yeah, man, sounds cool. So that was a trip. We put it on the books. We had no idea what was going to transpire in the next, 5-6 days or however many days we were out there. And because we got out there and we started hunting and we were like, we're going to go out there, start filming. If we can find a 130-inch deer, 140-inch deer, looks mature, perfect situation, like that's what we want. That is literally what we go out there for, right? And had been hunting, we were filming. We had some nice weather the first few days and got on a buck. I think we actually got on 2 bucks. We made a stalk on one for sure. That I don't know, disappeared in this ditch. Where that deer actually disappeared to doesn't really make sense. There had to be a hole in that ditch that him and that doe duck went into, and that's where they went, and boom, they're gone, right? But filming wise, all that was perfect. Perfect conditions, great weather. We saw some deer. We were battling like some bird hunters and stuff like that, and whatnot. So that was all great, right?
Real quick, I want to ask you one question about
Yep.
when you're getting ready to go out there,
Yep.
what was your preparation like? Like, what did you have? What, you're thinking, you're in your office, you're like, man, do I need this lens? Or is it just like, I'm bringing everything and then figuring out, but like, what's, you and Lee probably had to talk about it. Like the country looks like it's probably going to be on foot quite a bit. Could be in a tree. So there's a lot of different things going there. What's your preparation like at home before you even leave?
All right. Yeah. For prep for like pretty much any trip is pretty close to about the same. The weather is always something I look at. That's huge. That's for not even just for myself, but for what gear I am taking, and make sure I have all the protective stuff for like, rain cover and all that stuff that I'm going to be sure that no matter what situation that could arise when I'm on that trip, I'm going to be ready for it.
Yeah.
Any type of weather situation, right? Which is another reason why I love to drive most places that I go. If I can drive, I'm driving. I will fly if I have to, but if I have a choice, I'm driving. So the weather is literally more than likely the first thing I'm looking at whenever I find out the location, and it gets close to that point in time. And then when it comes to gear, I've gotten it to where I've got a pretty core set of stuff that I take. I got 4 lenses. So I got a 24 to 105. I got the 24 to 240. Got the 70 to 200. And then I got a 50 millimeter prime.
Mm-hmm.
And those are my set lenses. And I'll take, those are my 4 lenses that I usually take with me on a trip. Do I always take them with me on the hunt? Not necessarily. When I get there, it's kind of like situational in a sense, right? On that particular hunt, I had all my lenses, but there were chances that we were going to set in a tree, but we're also probably going to do a lot more running guns on the ground trying to find deer and then go make a move on them, right? So that's why I picked the 24 to 240 because it's a relatively small lens, lightweight.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we would get out there first thing in the morning, we do some glassing, but by the time we're even getting out of the truck, it's daylight. So once we jump out of the truck, I got that lens on. I'm probably in the truck running a 24 to 105. Like I said, those 2 lenses are huge. So just having the versatility of having all my lenses, though, if I leave a lens at home, I'm going to need it on the next trip, no matter what.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
What are you using the 50 prime for mostly? Pictures?
Photos. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That is a huge photo lens for me. I think it's I go back to my style, I try to make everything look exactly like it is. And I think the 50 millimeter gives you like such a natural look whenever you're looking at things. It doesn't like, you could take some crazy looking photos of a deer, make them look huge or whatever, and stuff. Like, I'll give some photos like that if that's what the client wants, but for my taste and preference and what I'm trying to produce at the end of the day, that's what I'm going for is that natural look. And I get that out of the 50 millimeter prime for sure.
Yeah. Are you shooting C-log or any sort of log or anything, or is it just, does it client dependent?
All client dependent, but a lot of it is C-log. C-log 3. We shoot a lot of the C-log 3 stuff. Yeah. All the YouTube stuff, I usually just film on the Canon, the regular Canon C-Log or the regular Canon color profile that they have. But it was like just this last year, we really started filming everything in C-Log, really.
Okay, I got you. You want to minimize guesswork, right? So leave the guesswork behind with Garmin Zero bow sights. Set up the perfect shot and be ready for anything. Garmin is known for engineering purpose-built products for the field, and the Zero lineup is no exception. With instant ranging, there's no need to guess the distance to your target when it matters most. From the Zero A1 to the A1i and the A1i Pro with micro adjust, Garmin has taken the bow sight game literally to an entirely new level. Slow down the moment of truth and step in with confidence when confidence counts the most. Learn more at Garmin.com. Michigan-based, established in 2010, Prime Archery is an American-made brand that's earned its place at the top. Based in small-town Michigan, Prime prides itself on quality, precision, and perfection with no shortcuts. The all-new Prime Form and Prime Divide series bow is carbon without compromise. A true first of its kind, it features the AST, Advanced Structures Technology, delivering a lighter build while increasing stiffness and precision. Prime didn't just cut the weight, they raised the bar. The new American-made carbon rods increase stiffness by 47.5% while reducing overall weight by half a pound. The Form and Divide series still features Prime's proven core cam system and center grip riser, just like its counterpart, the RVX Plus, giving you an unmatched balance, consistency, and accuracy. In my opinion, Prime is up there competing with the big dogs in the bow world. To learn more, visit g5prime.com or stop by your local Prime dealer. Vitalize Seed Company is known for their 1-2 system. The Nitro Boost in the spring and summer to build your soil, followed by the carbon load in the fall to pull deer in close when it matters most. I actually shot my deer on the 13th this year, the deer I called Hawk, on this carbon load. Vitalize secret sauce is saving you time and money while improving your soil and helping you be more successful come fall. Vitalize offers several proven seed blends, including Clover Chicory Plus Oats, the Premium Clover Plus featuring 5 types of clover and chicory, the Annual Clover Mix, Forage Brassica Mix, a 5-seed blend designed for extreme tonnage, and every bag plants 1 acre or more. Learn more by following Vitalize Seed Company on social media or visiting vitalizeseed.com. Now, I just had a question for about lenses and everything. So, you know, you've got the whole gamut in those 4 or 5 lenses. Like anything that you're going to, you know, encounter, you've got it covered with your bases. So anybody out there listening, if you want to go back and listen, if you're looking to be a producer or anything like that, like that is like a good coverage there with the lenses. Now, you're running two R5s, you said?
A lot of times, yes. If I'm in a tree stand, 95% of the time I'll have 2 R5s. I'll have one on a second angle, and I run it's a 15 to 35, I think it's the RF lens, what that is. I run that one, and then I'm always one. I will say this is another downfall about the R5s. When you shoot in slow motion, it doesn't capture audio. The Sonys do. I'm pretty envy of that, right? Because catching that audio and everything, I think is king. You can have some terrible footage, you know, or whatever, but as long as the audio is clean and crisp, you're still going to be able to, you know, gather people and like keep them in tune with what's going on. So on that second angle, wide angle lens, and I always run my audio there, and I run the DJI, what are they, like the 3s or whatever, here, the 3s, and they record internal audio into the mic. So whenever the hunt starts, I mean, those things will record for hours on end. So I just start
almost
recording
8
the audio.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah, I just start recording the audio on that whenever we're sitting in a tree stand. So if I'm ever filming anything slow motion, all my cameras, I try to, sorry to the editors that I always try to have my stuff time synced, you know, as much as possible. So that way when you put it in a timeline and stuff later on when you're editing, that audio will all sync up. So it's a way that I've, you know, got around that problem. But that's definitely something I always try to do is that second angle.
Let me ask you that.
Also have at least
Go ahead.
2.
Sorry.
Oh, at least, and then I also at least have 1 or 2 other little second angles with the Osmos too, for sure.
Yeah. Let me ask you this about the audio, because that was going to be my, because with, you know, the R6 that I have, it, you know, in 120, it won't film audio. So I was thinking to myself, like, how do I get audio? I have the Rode 2s. I was going to get the DJIs. Knowing that they do record internal audio, which is great. You can freaking record right now and go to and it's still recording the whole time. Obviously no video to it. But let me ask you this. When you're editing that, if you don't time sync it, which 99% of people aren't going to be time syncing it, how are you linking that up in post?
It really just comes back to, I'll usually go to where the audio that I'm usually looking for is right around the kill shot. So I'll find the audio of the kill shot and I'll link up the kill shot. And then like, if I find other audio in there, then I'm like, oh, I could probably use that for something or whatever. Then I'll grab it. But most of the time, the audio that I'm looking for is if somebody, you know, you miss it when it, like Lee and I just were on a hunt in Georgia and we killed a big 10-pointer there just recently. And that hunt happened so fast. Rut hunt, you know, doe comes, you know, there was a doe and a buck came run through, and then 20 minutes later, his shooter buck comes on that same trail. We literally see him for like 8 seconds. You know what I mean? And so, you know, that like that audio that you're going to want is all in that little time segment there of like him saying, oh, there he is, da 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 da, of stuff that you maybe didn't capture, you know? So that's what I whenever I go to the editing part, I just go to the meat and potatoes of what I really need. And then if I get other stuff or need other stuff, then I'll go through and scrub through because you can see where the audio peaks and stuff, in your timeline and get through what you really need. But that's really the big case. Also, I will tell you those Osmos nowadays, I mean, I don't really use the GoPros. I really love the Osmos a lot more than the GoPros. The color profile and everything just in my mind and in my eyes looks so much better. But the audio those things capture is out of this world, man. It really is pretty wild. Yeah. It's crazy how many times those little cameras have saved me. And I've literally used the audio off of those cameras for the hunt. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Say you got caught with your pants down, didn't have something on or something, mic died or whatever, like especially spot and stalk hunts. Those I got a cage on my R5. I put a little deal where I could put an Osmo at the front of the camera. It might not be doing anything but capturing audio for me, right? It's recording, pointing at the ground, whatever. On the elk hunt this year, I know a lot of the audio came from that deal, just sitting on top of my camera. Yeah, we're spotting the stalk and crawling through the cactus and all that stuff, and like that Osmo on top of the camera was rolling the whole time.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Okay, so kind of jumping around here. The reason why I asked about the two bodies is because let's say you're running a 24 to 105 or, even the 16 to 35 or something in the truck because you got a wide angle.
Yep.
And then you get out of the truck and you're like, okay, I don't need maybe that lens again right now. Are you just flopping lenses then, or are you going to like set up a camera for your wides, set up a camera for, what's going to be your tights?
That is definitely like kind of instant, like whatever instance I'm in. Say we're going on a tree stand hunt, I'm probably just swapping lenses because that other R5 is probably in my backpack and it's just a bare bodied R5 getting ready to be put up into the tree and a lens added to it, and I'll have my mic to it, right? Whereas like if we're on like say a Western hunt and I do have a 400 to 600, I think that's what it is. Good long lens that sometimes that I will have just that on my small body, and then have like my 24 to 105 where I have that attached to me to where it's like, oh, we walk up on an animal and I want to get some cool footage or take a photo or whatever. I have that long lens available, but the 24 to 105, I'm usually just flopping the lenses between the 24 to 105 or the 16 or the 70 to 100 a lot of times. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was just asking because like on the Sony side of things, when you take that lens off, there's no door that comes down. The sensor is like, and then all of a sudden you look and there's like so many black marks because the dirt's on the sensor. I love how the Canons, when you shut them off, you take that lens off, a barn door comes down, and dude, that like Sony needs it, and maybe they are because I've kind of gotten away from Sony a little bit. Like so maybe they're some of their higher end cameras or whatever. I have a Sony R5, but it does not like the sensors just, hey, I'm out here just dancing around, just collecting all the dirt. So much compressed air is overlooked. Like I have compressed air in every vehicle, wherever, and I just like a couple little spots and then I'm going. So
I got a little puffer thing that's in my little deal that always goes in my backpack, and like there's usually a few different things that I have multiple of. It's usually the like covers that go on the back of the lenses. Losing those all the time. I got them sitting in different backpacks because it's like, gosh, where'd that go, right? You never know. Put it in a pocket. You don't find it until 4 days later. Little lens wipes. Those are always used, little moisture lens wipes. And then, like you said, like little screwdriver type things. Those are like some of the big things that you got to have in them, like besides the little puffer.
Yeah,
those
that puffer's good.
Like I have
puffer's a good idea. So, okay. Love that. Now, you guys have been hunting for a couple days now. We're jumping back ahead here. Hunting for a couple days, and you got on a couple bucks. Kind of take it from there. And like I said, I want it from like your lens, like your eyes, like, because Lee's story, although it's the same, it's different because his mindset's different than what you're trying to lay down. I want it from like a story's perspective and how you want to be, laying this down.
So as we're going through the hunt, people don't realize how much like vehicle time you have on a lot of hunts, especially a lot of stuff that's like out west and with wide open stuff, and like you're looking for animals, but you're going to look at one place here and all of a sudden you got a 35-mile drive to go to the next spot or whatever, you know what I mean? There's lots of truck time. So breaking that down in a production stance, like you gotta, in my mind, I'm always thinking of like what are different ways that I can continue this story to keep it flowing, right?
Mhm.
So throughout the trip, that's kind of like what's going through my brain on like transition shots. Those are always huge ones that I think get missed a lot. The action's always happening, but then how do you go from this action to the next action besides just going to it, right?
Transitions are pivotal. You got to have them.
Huge. You got to have them. Drone shots, time lapses, just different stuff like that, and taking the time to do that. And I say take the time to do that. At the end of the day, it doesn't take that much time to go do that. You go fly the drone, go fly it for 15 minutes. You can get a majority of your stuff that you need if you go and fly it in a place to get different stuff, right? Just get creative with it. There's been times where you get caught on trips. Well, this trip, in an instance, we had a couple nice days there at the beginning. I like 3 nice days there or so at the beginning where we were hunting and whatnot. But then the weather got terrible, and I actually had some stuff I had to do, in between those days. And I went home for a couple of days in between the trip because we had such terrible rain. But with that rain, whether I went home or not, like the filming, just like, okay, I go get some rain shots and that. But like, other than that, like, how are you going to transition that through the rest of the hunt? That's always something you got to be thinking about when you're on those types of trips, for sure.
And I have something. I have something to say about that too, because what I thought you guys did, and I don't even know if you did it. Like, I don't even think it was on purpose. It just Lee. I found out that Lee is an unbelievable self filmer. Like he
is really good.
He, from my perspective, he has something about him where it's like the camera. He knows he knows what the goal is. The goal is to kill a big deer or a deer, but also the same level of goal is to capture it the best way possible. And it looks like a lot of times he's not grabbing a GoPro and vlogging. It's an SLR. And he's setting it up on, like that time when he was like, I think it was on the same trip maybe, he's driving out there and he sees a deer on the highway and stops. And he gets the camera out.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm like, I was telling a buddy of mine, I'm like, I love to film, but I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm grabbing that camera. But I will tell you what, he inspired me to be like, dude, it's not that hard, just fucking do it. Like, just do it.
Yeah, just do it. He is very, very good. I mean, him and Drew are both in the Sequin crew. That was their big thing, is they were influenced by the HB guys too. I think a lot of people in our generation were influenced by that storytelling, right? They were just doing it in a little bit different way about different deer, in a different aspect. But both of them are very story oriented. Like and that's one thing. I'd say more of the planning I'd say that we do is trying to create the best story or capture the best story for the deer. Like, we want to highlight the deer. The story isn't necessarily about Lee. Lee gets the attention, right? But his goal is to hit. He care less if he's on camera, really, to be honest with you. He wants to tell a story about the deer. And so, like, he is very story oriented when it comes to that, because like you said, we had to split up there, or we split up for a couple of days. I went home for 2 days and drove home, took care of some stuff at home, had to do it, came back, and it was no big deal because we had literal torrential downpours for like 3 days, right? We're like, all right, we'll just start hunting. We didn't have an end date, so we could be there as long as we needed to be. So it was no big deal. So that day, he even called me or texted me that morning. He's like, I don't know if I'm going to go out. Like, it's still raining like crazy, blah, 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 blah. He's like, there is kind of like a little bit of a break that might happen. He's like, I think I'm going to sleep in. So that was the last I heard, right? I was like, all right, cool. Because I was getting up early that morning to start my trek back down that way. And I'm like, partway through my trip, I get a phone call. And I'm like, I could tell by like his voice. He's like, hey, man,
where you at?
When are you going to get here? Well,
there was a lot of urgency in his voice. There was a lot. That was actually one of my questions, Cody, was like, when he says, hey, where you at? Like, how did that make you feel? Because it's like you could tell something was going down.
I instantly knew. Like, I didn't know what was happening because, like, I knew. I mean, when I left him, it was I think we had just gone to that stock. I think when we blew that stock, or the stock didn't work out, or we went searched for a couple other places, didn't find any other deer, and like that's where we left it. And it just been raining. He'd just been hanging out with his friends, just hanging out in camp, watching the rainfall. And just by that morning, he just happened to get up and go, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna go drive around a little bit, see if I don't get stuck or whatever, because out west, when it starts raining anywhere out west, fair warning, good luck.
Yep.
It's a nightmare. So he was like, and that's why he ended up on that main highway that he did that day. And like, just the way that things happened, just like, wow, the way it worked out. Right. But anyways, yeah, he calls me. Okay. And I'm like, what's up, buddy? And, long story short, yeah, he's like, I just saw a big deer. Da, 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 da. I'm gonna go park. I'm gonna go see if I can find him. I'm like, okay, well, cool. I was like, make sure you film everything. He's like, oh, I already did an interview and da da da. I'm like, perfect. So like, in that point in time, like, I don't even think it as a producer. He's doing what he needs to do to do what while I'm not there, right? And I will say, I think that's why him and I work so well, because you work with somebody enough and you create a relationship with them and you get that trust. And like, he's also obviously an amazing hunter. He's a great woodsman. He moves, you know, he gets it done when he needs to get it done, right? He puts the puzzle pieces together. And he's even said it before, like, he's very efficient in his job, and then you put somebody else that's very efficient at producing it and stuff like that, and you put that combo together, and he doesn't have to worry about what he's doing. I don't have to worry about what I'm doing, and vice versa, right? Like, we're just both doing our jobs. And it's made him even more comfortable in what he's doing, because like I said, he used to always think about that story. He's so story oriented, but now he can let that go because that trust that we've created that trust together, right?
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna say the transition shot though that was great is he was filming when he called you, and and honestly it was the shot where it says your name right on the dash and that you're talking. You can hear, like, that was just a transition shot. Like, I don't think it would have had as much impact if Lee wouldn't have got the shot of your name on the dash. If it was just him talking to you through the truck, it would have worked. But like, since you could put your name and that visual off of Lee for a minute, like, it worked. And I was like, that was perfect.
This is also another instance of like how YouTube and TV is totally different, because if you were editing a TV episode, it would have gone straight to just him talking to me. You know what I mean? Whereas like, you would have never shown him showing that, and the shaky stuff of him going back to himself or whatever that I'm remembering the shot was like, yeah, like that stuff, just the style of the way things are captured and the way their storytelling has like evolved. It's kind of like just why I think their videos do so good now. You know what I mean? It's so encapsulating. It grabs your attention, and it's like, you can watch an hour episode, like we just talked for an hour, and like, you're like, wow, that was an hour episode. Like, what in the world? I remember the very first time it was the Kimbo episode actually. And he's like, we're going to produce an hour episode. Like, I don't know if somebody's going to watch for an hour. You go back and look at that one. I mean, I don't know how many views it's got, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, that's something I got to ask you too, because like, you could, as a producer on the back end, like you're in post-production, you can, in my opinion, you can, I don't know what the word is for it, but you can almost analytically kill yourself, where it's like, okay, they obviously want long, like our analytics might be saying they want long form over short form, and it's like putting this trip with this trip. Like, I think you got to throw that out the window in a way. Like, I still think you need to look at the analytics in a way, but the footage is going to tell you how long it needs to be. The footage will tell you what style it needs to be. You just need to know how to listen to it. Plain and simple.
There is no set time on any episode that we do anymore. Like, before, we were like, hey, we need to film for like 30-minute episode, right? We don't. Like I said, there is no real structure. I mean, there is kind of a structure, like, hey, we're going to go film this, but there is no structure on like, hey, this is going to be a 30-minute episode, this is going to be a 40-minute episode, this is going to be a 2-hour episode. It just happens to be what it happens to be, right? And like you said, the people are really honestly just telling you. Your analytics can tell you so much, but then when you put that video out and all of a sudden it's got millions of views, and you're just like, well, it worked. Analytics said it wasn't going to work, but it still worked, right?
Yep.
So, and it's just this totally different world. It kind of still blows my mind today every time, just doing things. You're just like, I don't know how this is working, but it is.
I got a question for you, kind of off, like back on the YouTube thing a little bit, but do you think that your video a lot of times is only as good as your thumbnail on YouTube?
Yes and no. Yes and no. There are definitely some videos out there that are amazing on YouTube that have not really seen the light of day because their thumbnail doesn't capture somebody, right?
Yeah.
Also, I mean, I think that is a huge thing. Yes, for sure. Especially for people just scrolling through on YouTube, because everybody's just watching stuff now on YouTube. And with the way things just are scrolling through, it's no different than social media. If that first thing doesn't grab you with the first 5 seconds, you're going to pass through it, right?
Yeah.
Which is I hate it. I hate that. As a producer, as somebody that like that loves to show things, that like so much gets lost in the shuffle nowadays, that like it blows my mind. You know what I mean? It really does.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad in a way, because I even think about that. I'm honestly horrible with social media.
So am I.
You probably look at my social. I don't even remember the last time I posted. It's probably been I guarantee it's been over a year. Promise. I'm gonna have to make a post here pretty soon. Whenever I just got married, so I'm gonna have to make a post, and that'll be it. But
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. But yeah, it's social media. It's just, I hate how things get so lost in so much of the jumble that's out there, you know, and like in a way I almost hate participating in it, but I'm such a big factor in it because I produce the content that goes
necessary
out there,
evil, man. It's what it is.
It is what it is. Yep.
Okay, so Lee sees this buck. He calls you. There's urgency in his voice. Okay, once the phone clicks and you've got 2.5 hours left of your drive, what's your thought process?
Well, at I'm like sitting there, I'm like, all right, well, I'm like one of those people that like when I get somewhere, I like to have time to like set things out, like, you know, get organized, and like, I'm like, if we're getting up in the morning, if we're leaving at 5 o'clock, I'm getting up at 4. You know what I mean? I like to have that hour. That's the way my brain works. I feel so much better when I'm like that, right? And I always usually pride myself. I'm super organized. I always usually have everything that I need when I'm on a trip. Well, I know how Lee works, and I know when I get there, there's going to be no time for that. Like, so I'm getting there. I pull in the driveway. He is there, and he is ready. He's fully dressed. I'm in basketball shorts, Crocs, you know, like I've just planned. Original plan was just to get there. And if the rain stopped, maybe we go do some scouting in the afternoon. Well, the rain stopped sooner than it was supposed to. So, you know, then he found the deer, whatever. So I get there, and I'm like, all right, first thing I do, like I said, look at the weather. Is it going to rain anymore? It was not supposed to rain anymore. Okay. So I didn't bother unpacking rain gear. I didn't bother unpacking the rain stuff for my camera or any of that stuff. Okay. So in my state, I'm just grabbing the camera, grab a second angle, grab a couple extra batteries, grab another card, and I pretty much threw all this stuff in my pockets. I've also never done that. I usually always have a bag. Okay. So I'm pretty much going into this, as crazy as it sounds, probably the most unprepared I've ever been to film a hunt.
Really?
Yes, because just other than like, I'm super grateful whenever I leave my house, I have everything so organized and charged and ready to go for whenever I do get there, I'm ready to go, right? So it was like, grab the essentials that I need. He's like, don't worry about a second angle. I still grabbed a second angle. Like, I'm like, da-da-da-da. He's like, we got to go. The deer might not be there when we get back, because we had like a 35, 40-minute drive from where we were staying to where we get back, and he had to leave them. And the rain had stopped there where we were at, okay? Sun was shining. We were like, gosh, the deer's probably not going to be there when we get back. He's probably already gotten up. Anyways, we get close to that, getting over there, and I could see that it is definitely raining, one. It definitely doesn't look like it's going to let up anytime soon. And so we get there, and it is storming. I mean, you saw in the footage, the wind's blowing, raining like crazy. So this is going to be a true testament to what the R5 can go through, and what this lens right here, this 24 to 240, even though it's a pretty cheap lens, you saw we got dumped on. I mean, just dumped on for pretty close to 2 hours. And there was at one point in time where before we leave the truck, I could see this is all happening, right? I'm like, well, how am I going to wipe off the lens? Like, I don't bring any lens cloths. I didn't bring any of that stuff, right? I got my shirt. I'm like, well, I'm going to get wet. Like, what am I going to do? So there was a pile of napkins in the truck. So I grabbed the pile of napkins, and I actually stuffed them inside my pants. Okay. Like, I stuffed them inside my pants so to keep them as dry as I possibly can, like around in my waistband, and like cover them up and whatever. I'm like, that's what I'm going to wipe my lens. That's what I'm going to wipe the lens off with if I need to. So we take off. It's raining, kind of stops raining, still raining. And then we get to where we're in position right now, where I'm sitting, where Lee's like in his spot where he shoots deer, and I'm in my spot. Okay.
Are you on sticks? You're on tripod, right?
No, I'm all freehand at this point.
Are you kidding me?
No.
That just goes to show the image stabilizer and how stable you are.
Yeah. So I actually, so where I went, it worked out perfect, because he was at first I was just going to keep going with him. Right. But at one point in time, we got to a point, there was like a ditch and there was a rock that was laying there. And I actually laid down kind of like behind the rock. And in a sense, I did have a tripod because I put the camera on the rock and it was at an angle. So I just had to wedge my hand up underneath the rock and just kept there. But I stayed there like this in that position, filming in that, like that. I actually like kind of humped myself over the camera to like try to cover it as much as possible. Because I was like, who knows how long it's going to rain? I don't know if this camera is going to make it. Right. And, I had the wireless mics on. Those wireless mics actually saved all the audio because I lost connection and my transponder stopped working at that point in time, but that mic kept recording. So
unbelievable.
All the audio that's happening on him still capturing it. Right. He took an Osmo up with him and set it down beside him. So we had that second angle that we weren't going to have. And so like that all just worked out. And at that point in time, I'm like, all right, at a production stance, I'm like, all right, we got a second angle. We're capturing audio down there. Like I got this, like everything in my world is good other than it's raining like crazy, right? It is just dumping on us. So this deer is laying out there and it gets to a point like it's raining so hard. I can't see Lee. I could barely see Lee. I could barely see the deer, but it would rain so hard. The deer would almost like curl up into a ball. Right. And whenever he did that, I would take a couple of those napkins out, wipe off the lens really fast, and then hurry up and get him back in the frame. And,
how many times did you expanded focus on that?
I can't tell you how many times I like would zoom in, zoom out, and then like I'm like, I had so much time to like think about the framing that I wanted, right? And at one point in time, I'm like, all right, the framing that I need is him in this part and the deer in this part, and I made that executive decision that like this is how I'm going to capture it. And not knowing anything that was going to like transpire. I did know that like in my mind, I'm like thinking like there's going to be a lot of water that probably comes off the bow. Like I'm thinking about all this stuff before it even happens. And pretty much what I'm like thinking in my mind, all of a sudden just unfolds in front of me. Like the bow goes off, water flying everywhere. And then the fact that the deer did the whole circle and ran and died practically back in his bed was probably one of the wildest things that I've ever seen while sitting behind the camera. For sure.
How long were you guys actually sitting there?
2 hours.
It was 2 hours from when you sat down.
It was like probably like it was probably like an hour and 48 minutes or so. I think it's something like that. From whenever for the recording time, but from when we got there and actually set up, I know I wasn't recording that. That the whole time we got from us getting set up. Right after we were set up and just sitting there. Just kept recording, because the Canon, it records for 29 minutes or whatever, for full time. So I'm like sitting there. And then whenever it gets to like 28 point, like 30 out, click. I'm like, okay, he didn't stand up. We're good. We're recording. Everything is good.
That's funny. So how many batteries did you go through?
I didn't. I only had I have a battery grip on my camera. Okay. And and that thing burns for a long time. What I did do is I did pull out my cell phone at one point in time because I was like, what if this camera just stops? Like it's just getting soaked. Like it could just stop. So my backup plan was to pull out my cell phone and literally film it with my cell phone if that's what it came down to.
Wow, dude. And you shot it all on that 24 to 240 lens?
Yep. And until we went and did like probably the recovery stuff, I'm pretty sure I switched lens after that because I usually, taking photos and doing that all at the same time. But 24 to 105, I think is probably what I switched to. But yeah, I filmed everything on that with that lens for sure.
Single bevel cut on contact broadheads have been around since the Stone Age, and for good reason. One of the biggest advantages of a single bevel broadhead is what happens on impact. As they penetrate, they continue to rotate, cutting through the animal, resulting in deeper penetration and faster blood loss. With Helix broadheads, you can measure your recovery in seconds. Check out the FJ2 or the FJ4 available with bleeder blades by visiting helixbroadheads.com, and be sure to use the code TFP to save on your next purchase. So for the last year, I've been shooting Coulee arrows, premium arrows for every archer. Coulee Archery is known for their revolutionary black centrifugal weave, delivering unmatched durability, penetration, and downrange accuracy. Now, I shot 3 deer this year, all with either an Amphisi or an Ngulubi arrow, and I never broke one arrow. I can still shoot them. They're still good to go. I've been testing these arrows since last April, and the biggest thing that stood out was an extra pin down range. Even with the same spine and weight as my previous setup, these arrows fly truer, faster, and more consistently. The best part is Kool-Aid has arrows for everyone, beginners, seasoned hunters, or competition shooters. If you're in the market for new arrows, check them out at KoolAidArchery.com. And right now, for Fall Podcast listeners, use the code FALL15 at checkout to save on your next purchase. Kool-Aid Archery, where innovation meets passion. I mean, Michigan Buck Pole is the home of Michigan hunters. You can share your harvest, browse stories from across the state, and filter by method, time of day, or county. Join the community at mibuckpole.com and follow at mibuckpole for updates and highlights. Yeah, and I'm just looking that up right now. So, like, that lens for everybody listening is like, you know, right around $1,000 lens. Like, that's a cheap lens. And when you go look at the footage is amazing. What were your, if you don't mind me asking, like, what did you guys shoot that, and what codec? Like, what was your settings? Was it 30 frames, 24?
It was 24 frames. I always shoot, all my stuff is in 24 or 120. It was, at that point in time, I'm pretty sure I was shooting in C-Log. And then I mean, I would have loved, everything about me would have loved to have filmed that in slow motion. But when you're sitting there filming you have no idea how long it's going to be. You know what I mean? I had one other card that I could have switched out. I had batteries that I could have switched out, but I think it was cool enough that I probably could have gotten away with filming 120, but like, there's no way I would have been able to film 2 hours worth of 120 footage and like capture that. Right. And I had no idea when he's going to stand up. So I had to make that decision that I'm just going to film it at regular speed and just let it happen. Right. But it didn't matter. It was still pretty wild, man. I filmed some pretty darn cool things in the deer woods. I would say, I mean, the majority of my stuff has been deer hunting that I've filmed. So I've got to see some pretty cool stuff, but that is definitely something that, like, the stars were just aligned that day for it all to happen.
That's so cool, man. That's awesome. So then, you know, you shoot the deer, you guys freak out, which you should. I mean, that's the best part. Lee is freaking out, and I would have done the same thing. You know, and this is where I think a lot of young producers, and it depends on what you're shooting. If you're TV, like the TV I grew up in, it's like, it's hard. Like, do I celebrate with the guy or do I not? Well, with YouTube, it's like, no, dude, you were just as part of this as anybody else. Like, you know, but I will say with young producers or any producer, like some of them, it's hard to keep capturing the moment that Lee had. Like, he always thanking Jesus and, like, you know, and the Lord and Savior. And, you know, he's very, very God driven, you know, and that's Lee. And to still capture that and almost like you're just as excited, like all this like it's like probably one of the best moments you've ever been in. And you want to like immerse in it, but you have to immerse yourself in a 3-inch screen still. Like, you have a job to do. I think that's a hard thing to kind of like keep doing sometimes, isn't it?
It's super hard, actually. I've actually caught myself here this past year. Caught myself like not filming stuff that I probably should have been filming. You know what I mean? I've never been conscious of that, but then like I also film way more than I probably should. So I get away with it, right? It's not a big deal. And people hate me for it. You can ask all the editors. They love me, but they hate me because I will send them a hard drive, so much footage, and they're just like, great. I know I'm going to have everything, but I got to go through all this. Right? But it is a hard thing to do, to like be so sunk into that screen when it's so easy just to look up over that camera and see what's happening, right? But I also love what I do. I love it. You know, being able to sit there and click that record button and capture things and get those reactions and the celebratory stuff. It is huge. I mean, YouTube definitely has changed that. It definitely has made it to where the camera guy is like not just a floating object, you know, anymore. It seems like, you know, you're just not a camera anymore. Because that was a big change. The first time I ever went film Lee, like, he's giving an interview and all of a sudden he asked me a question and I'm just like, do I respond? Do I not say anything?
It's the TV brain.
There's just an awkward silence, and he's just like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, oh, you want me to like say something, type of thing. So that is definitely like it was weird. It was definitely a weird deal. And I had, like I said, I had to correct myself a little bit, because it is hard to just fully live your life through that little screen, especially whenever you're a producer and you film so much content. It does all through that little screen.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So, you do the recovery, and this is where me as a producer, where it's like, I feel like I personally felt like I needed to be more focused in on like how, like I liked, because when you do this initial walk up, it's the only time it's going to be genuine. Like you could recreate it, but it's going to be the only time to get the most genuine, realistic thing as it happens. And, as like I'm walking up on an animal and I'm filming a hunter, I'm kind of like peeking over the camera to make sure, like, see how the deer's laying. Cause for TV, it's like how much blood's around him. Like, do you show this? Is his tongue hanging out? Like that was one of the big things, a lot of the guys I filmed, like first thing they'd do, and they'd do it so discreetly, they'd pick the head up and the tongue, they'd slip the tongue in the mouth and you wouldn't even have known they'd done it. But like with the tongue hanging out, it doesn't look good. Like clean it up a little bit, even for YouTube 100%. In general.
We try to 100%.
Yeah. And so it's like you have all these things going through your head, like what way is the deer laying? What way is, your hunter going to walk around? Is he going to pick up the rack this way or this way? It's like a lot of things go in to that. And then it's like, is audio rolling? Is focus clear? And do I stay wide? I always like preemptively like stayed wide because I could always go back and get tighter stuff. You could 100%. Always do that. So that walk up, how was it for you? And like, what was going through your head?
I mean, I think for both of us, we're still so jacked up in a way, but we had to take, before we did walk up, we had to like collect ourselves, because if we would have walked up then, it would have just been a mess, right? There would have been no organization. And that is one thing I do. Lee is so, as you can see, so passionate, so gets so jacked up about things that like I have to almost, in a sense, for myself, slow him down, because I'm like, all right, brother, like we got to slow down. Let's walk up to him, like let's do our stuff. When like and I go the same tactic as you. I always have more of a wide shot, walking up to it, get all that stuff, because then I always go back and do like any kind. Like I said, this is the recreates I do. I'll do like cool shots of the antlers, detail shots, all that type of stuff, which I think is very, very important and like super beneficial, because like my goal is to always showcase the animal, and the animal is like star of the show in my sense, right? Like that's all I really care about showcasing and giving the most respect to is the animal at the end of the day. So I want to show him in all his glory. I want to show that off and make sure that that's like always perfect for sure.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. The animal's the star of the show. I really like that phrase there for sure. So you get all this the creative stuff. Lee does his talk, his grip and grin, everything. You probably take some photos if you can right there. And then it's not popping bottles just yet, right? I mean, like no. There's more stuff. So like what comes next? What comes next in your brain? Ultimately the uncontrollable you have checked off the box now. So how do we wrap this whole story up? So
nowadays, we definitely, I let him do everything that he possibly wants to do. Like let him have his moment, let him do his thing. We usually always, there'll be a point in time where a lot of times we just shut the cameras off, after we get our stuff there for a minute, and we just sit there, man. And we just soak up the moment. And I absolutely love that moment, because like you said, a lot of times, you're living your life through your camera as a camera guy, and you live it through the screen, and you don't just to get to sit there a lot of times, just soak it up. So we always take time to do that. But then, and when it comes to the end of that time, we go through our deal. I'm like, all right, man, let's get some of these product photos. Let's get some of the stuff that sponsors need, because at the end of the day, we still have a job to do. This is all, it is all a job at the end of the day. We love doing it and it's great, but there are things that you have to check off the list, or else certain people aren't going to get paid. And at the end of the day, everybody needs to get paid. So, it really becomes down to like, do we have all deliverables? Do we have everything that we need to do? And I say that we do that as much as we're allowed to in the moment, because like, say it's like super hot out or whatever, we don't take a lot of time to get things for. We'll get with the bare minimum that we need for sponsorships, but our goal is to get the animal taken care of.
Sure.
Really, once we wrap up that production stuff, I'm still grabbing stuff as we're going, maybe more or less photos or like maybe little cool shots as we're doing stuff. I always have that in my mind as we're doing it. Or like, we get it all packed up, we're doing time lapses, we're driving out or whatever, some kind of ending closing deal is always good other than just like the interview. But that's really kind of how it wraps up on most of the stuff, really. It's just knocking out those rest of those deliverables and just make sure that you completely cap off the story.
Yeah, deliverables are huge. Like you said, everything that we do, if you don't hit the record button, you as in Cody or whoever's filming, Lee doesn't get paid, Drew doesn't get paid, and guess what? You don't get paid. So
100%.
Even though you're there for a goal to kill a deer, you still have other things. You guys are on a high, and it's easy to forget things. And I will say that moment when you're sitting there over that deer, I feel like time starts flying even faster, and you're like, you almost feel like you're in more of a rush, and you're like, that's the time you really need it to slow down and make sure you're thinking clearly and have everything.
100%. And we try to wait to text anybody or any of that stuff because, man, once the phone starts blowing up and then it just pulls you away from that moment. You know what I mean? And it, like you said, it's super easy to get pulled away from that moment. And I would love to see more people just try as hard as you can to take care of that moment. Like afterwards, put the cameras down, put the phones down, get all rid of all that stuff, right? Because like you said, that stuff goes so fast, and when you shoot the deer and you find them, that all's gone so fast, and everything that you worked up for is pretty much essentially over, right? But I guess that's the biggest thing that for sure at the end of it is as a producer, take your time to immerse yourself in it for sure.
Yeah.
Because
go ahead.
I've definitely regretted some of those moments of dang man, I didn't do that, or we didn't do that, or didn't take that moment to do that, right? And you'll regret it. I promise you.
And you can't recreate that either,
No.
And once 100%. You move that deer, it's all different. You can always try to recreate, but it's different.
Yeah.
I will say this, that was one of my biggest goals as a hunter this year was taking 3 minutes of just my time whenever I could do that. And I did that, and it was great. 3 minutes, the phone isn't going off. And I say 3 minutes, but it's just take some time, take some time. I want to go back real quick to say something. I encountered something last year with a camera guy. I say that loosely, but you mentioned something that is very important that I think everybody needs to, and I'm going to be really harsh. You might not agree with me on this, and you don't have to by any means, but I feel like I can say it now. But I was editing something that, a guy shot his biggest deer ever. It was in the 190s. Okay.
Yep.
The walk up, the guy running the camera was the first one to go up and pick the deer up and touch the deer. And I got really pissed because if you would have done that, you would have taken away Lee's moment. It's Lee's moment. It's the hunter's moment. It is, you have a job. It is to capture that. Once that hunter is done with their moment, then you can kind of do your thing. But he ran right in there, picked the deer up. Oh my God. And I'm so distasteful. How am I supposed to edit this? This is not your hunt. I mean, it is, you're part of this hunt, but it's not your hunt. So anybody out there listening, literally your job is to run camera. I don't care if you do it for a living or if you're just asked to go film a buddy. Give that moment to the hunter.
For sure.
That's all I ask. Please, just please do that.
Yep. Like I said, when it comes down to it, we love what we're doing, but it's still a job. There's still things that I have to do. And as a producer, you have to take that responsibility and take charge in that sense, because I can tell you right now, Lee would just love to just do all the hunting stuff and not do all the sponsor stuff, and you get to most of these personalities, and a lot of the sponsor stuff is, it's not really a burden, but it's just, almost unnecessary things you absolutely have to do. Right.
Yep,
so
definitely,
it just is what it is at the end of the day, especially if it's a job.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, man, I got 3 more questions for you, and then we're going to wrap this up. So, what's your favorite thing about, telling a story through the lens, let's just say, well, in general, but like hunting related?
What's probably one of my favorite things to film, like hunting related. I guess I could say I've filmed a few youth hunts, and I will tell you right now, the youth hunts, especially one. I mean, there's been a few of them, but the youth hunts, I'm just gonna say that, are probably some of the most meaningful hunts that I've been on.
I love
to
that
get those interactions and those the reactions those kids get are the most pure thing that's out there. And like, I've filmed a lot of people, and a lot of interactions and a lot of reactions you get from people aren't as genuine, and like, I hate to say it, some people, will shoot something and they'll walk up to it and they'll be like, oh yeah, I shot another deer, and for me, I love deer and I love wildlife and I love turkeys. And like, I that's why I've involved my life around it. Right. So like, I really, gravitate towards people that have a passion for it and really appreciate it. And little kids appreciate it more than anybody. So I think that's been some of the cooler things that I've filmed for sure.
I love that. All right. What's your white whale hunt to produce? Like, what's that one that you're like, man, I want that one?
Alaska has always been up there for sure. I had that one chance to go and then it got canceled. I just haven't had another opportunity to go yet. Alaska, I don't know if I'd really to film anything really. I just think being in Alaska would be super cool.
I like it.
Yeah, Alaska would probably be the top one that I haven't been there yet.
I like it. All right, last one. What's one thing you would tell aspiring producers to do to be successful?
I think a lot of people get so wrapped up in gear and what type of gear they're using and like all that type of stuff, right? And as I said earlier, the hunt that it could go down as one of the craziest hunts that I've ever filmed, I was probably the least, prepared for it. And like you pointed out, the lens that I was using was the cheapest lens that I have in my box. You know what I mean? And that also comes to the point that where like people stress so much on gear. I filmed so long for that on that T3i, the Rebel T3i when I was younger, and I still have photos and stuff that I look back today that like you couldn't tell if I took those today or 10 years ago on that camera, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not what you're shooting on that like really creates the good stuff. It's just getting out there and shooting it and doing it, and that's where people are like, well, how do I take these photos? I'm like, well, just go out and take some photos. I don't care if you're taking them with a cell phone or whatever, right? The only way you're going to get better at it is doing it. Yeah. And then upgrade your stuff later on once you get good at it.
And edit your stuff too, because then you'll tell you how bad of a shooter you actually are.
You'll learn so much editing your own stuff. You'll learn how to like what your framing is, like your audio. You're like, oh man, I thought that was good. And you're like, well, that was absolutely terrible. How do I fix that? Right. You become, if you're a problem solver, you'll all of a sudden you'll edit your own stuff and you're like, how in the world can I fix that and never have to fix this again? Right.
Yeah. Focus, everything, audio, all that stuff. The learning curve will be expedited so quickly, and you'll become a better producer so much quicker if you edit your stuff.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
Well, Cody Cooper, dude, thank you very much for giving me 2 hours of your day. I absolutely loved this conversation. I cannot wait to have more. Dude, keep killing it. Please tell everybody where they can follow you, where they can see your work, all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the main place I post anything is on my Instagram. It's Cody_G_Cooper. And that's probably the best place to follow me. I do have Facebook, but anything that I post on Instagram just goes to Facebook. So I keep telling myself that I'm going to get better about posting stuff, and I'm making that a goal. I actually have it written on my whiteboard over there to post stuff. It has been a goal last year, but I erased it and I rewrote it down. And so I definitely want to try to start sharing more stuff. Man, if anybody ever has any questions about anything, like I said, I don't know all the technical stuff, but I've been in a lot of certain situations that I have a lot of experience in a lot of different places to film a lot of different things. And I'm more than willing to help whoever.
I love it, man. Well, thank you very much again. I greatly appreciate it. And
thank you.
I know we'll stay in touch. Go out there, keep killing it, man. There's a little bit of deer season left. Get out there and do some more filming.
For sure. Will do, buddy.
Thank you. And everybody out there listening, make sure you hit record.